Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. My Sharingan has too many functions. Chapter 21. Zhao Fan was a little confused as to why the principal cared so much about which school he went to, based solely on the strength shown in his secret realm. Zhao Fan didn't think that such a result would be treated like this by the principal. He glanced at teacher Sun Ming, who had been standing silently beside him, and found that the other person was looking at him with encouraging eyes. Zhao Fan's heart moved and he immediately spoke. Principal, I want to go to Sushan Seminary. Ha ha ha. Okay, Sushan College is great. Hearing Zhao Fan's answer, Zhao Li laughed happily, and Sun Ming, who was beside him, also had a happy smile on his face. Seemingly sensing Zhao Fan's doubts, Zhao Li patted him on the shoulder. I have recovered from my illness, and it looks like I can use my brain. Not bad. Zhao Fan, Teacher Sun Ming and I will not harm you. All you need to know is that my surname is Zhao. Go to Sushan Academy and improve your strength as soon as possible. Zhao Li encouraged Zhao Fan. However, when he saw that Zhao Fan still looked like he wanted to get to the bottom of things, he started to chase people away. Okay, Zhao Fan, go back and have a good rest. The college notification will be sent to your home in the evening. Then you can just report to the college according to the information on the notification. If you have any questions, please contact Teacher Sun Ming. Go ahead. Zhao Li waved his hand and Zhao Fan had to give up the idea of asking. Seeing the principal like this, even if he asked, it would be in vain. Zhao Fan simply nodded, bowed to Zhao Li and Sun Ming, then turned and left. Looking at Zhao Fan's leaving figure, Zhao Li slowly spoke after a moment of silence. Is it really appropriate to put your hope in this child? The voice was very soft, like a question, but also like asking and answering one's own questions. At this time, Sun Ming responded. I don't want him to bear too much. It's too tiring and too dangerous. Not to mention his talent. I don't know why it was him. Sun Ming's voice was very low at this time, losing his sunny and warm-hearted attitude. Haha, isn't this the meaning of our existence? Zhao Li chuckled softly, and Sun Ming nodded silently after hearing this. Zhao Li glanced at the representative teachers who were still wandering among the many students. Especially when he saw Lu Wei, a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes and he snorted coldly. Sometimes, there are always people who give up their most important things for unimportant things. After this choice fails, you still have to resent others and shirk responsibility. How pathetic. Zhao Li sighed and looked at the students in front of him quietly, returning to his previous appearance. From time to time, he nodded to some students who liked him and encouraged them with a smile. At this time, Zhao Fan had returned home. He was thinking about what Zhao Li said before. When introducing the college, Zhao Li focused on Sushan College. Although it was not obvious, it seemed that the principal and Sun Ming both wanted him to choose Sushan College. Later, Zhao Li said that his surname was also Zhao, which made Zhao Fan a little confused. Could it be that this Zhao Li was still a relative of the original person? If so, then the behavior of Zhao Li and Sun Ming can still be justified. Maybe letting him go home early was also intentional, because of the representative of Qinglong Academy. Zhao Fan didn't realize that Zhao Li and others couldn't detect the extremely obvious malice towards him. But if not, what are their intentions? Zhao Fan touched his nose, then gave up and continued thinking. Mangekyo was successfully upgraded in the secret realm before, and his mental power was already very close to the silver level. And after such an improvement, Zhao Fan could still feel that his mental power was still slowly improving. At this rate of growth, I am afraid that I will be able to reach the silver level tomorrow. Therefore, Zhao Fan speculates that this is Mangekyo Sharingan, which also has the effect of purifying and increasing spiritual power. After all, this is Sharingan from home. Zhao Fan naturally accepted this result happily. After fighting in the secret realm for several hours, Zhao Fan felt uncomfortable all over. He quickly took a shower and changed into fresh casual clothes. After resting for a while, Zhao Fan went directly out to fill his 5 internal organs temple. As evening approached, as soon as Zhao Fan arrived at the door of his house, he saw Lin Xiaoyu's door also opened, and Lin's father walked out of the house. Uncle Lin is going out. Seeing this, Zhao Fan asked casually. After all, he had been taken care of by Lin Xiaoyu's family this month, so he naturally had to be grateful. Oh, it's Xiaofan. The moment he saw Zhao Fan, Lin's father's face flashed unnaturally, as if he didn't want to see him. Then Lin's father said to Zhao Fan very happily. Ahem, didn't Xiao Yu's child awaken SSS level powers? Well, he was selected by Dragon Academy. This happened, so we had no choice but to move to Dragon City for the sake of this child. Father Lin looked proud and his words were full of joy. But, Xiaofan, it doesn't matter even if we go to Longdu. If you encounter any problems, please send me a message. You should also take good care of yourself and work hard to improve yourself. In the future, the world will still be dominated by young people like you. If you have a chance, come to Longdu to find us again. However, Xiao Yu may improve himself in the academy and cannot leave school until he completes his studies. Father Lin looked like he was thinking about Zhao Fan and patted Zhao Fan on the shoulder. Xiaofan, come on, uncle is optimistic about you. Well, it's almost time, no more, Xiaofan, goodbye. After Lin's father finished speaking, he hurried past Zhao Fan and left without giving Zhao Fan time to speak. Zhao Fan followed Father Lin's figure with his eyes until he disappeared. After a moment, he burst into laughter. Oh, this is the true sophistication of human nature. You should know your own warmth and coldness. Zhao Fan naturally saw the change in expression on Father Lin's face, and coupled with Father Lin's words, he could understand Father Lin's thoughts. His daughter became an outstanding genius with superpowers, but Zhao Fan only awakened a low-level superpower. Before awakening, Lin's father would still take care of Zhao Fan because of his good brother's past friendship. But now the gap between Zhao Fan and Lin Xiaoyu is like a chasm. Father Lin naturally doesn't want Xiaoyu to continue to have too much involvement with Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan shook his head and returned to his home. Zhao Fan naturally didn't take it to heart that Lin's father said he should contact him if he had any questions. If it's true, forget it. However, a piece of information revealed by Lin's father made Zhao Fan very concerned. Lin Xiaoyu was selected by Long Academy. Zhao Fan didn't know any information about Dragon Academy, and Principal Zhao Li didn't mention this academy when he introduced it. This reminded Zhao Fan of top talent academies. After all, Lin Xiaoyu is an SSS level talent. This Dragon Academy may be an academy established specifically to protect geniuses like Lin Xiaoyu. After Lin Xiaoyu woke up, it was obvious that she was nowhere to be seen again. The threshold of the academy is probably not much lower. This is how geniuses should be treated. Zhao Fan complained again in his heart, sorted out all the information he got today in his mind, and put the matter aside. As for Lin Xiaoyu, she might need his help in the future, but it's too early to think about it now. Who can say clearly what will happen in the future? Zhao Fan thought this while opening the express delivery he received when he returned home. Take out a piece of paper inside that is similar to a certificate. Admission notice of Sushan Seminary was clearly written on it. There is also Zhao Fan's name and a report to the college within 7 days. The address of Sushan Seminary is written at the bottom, number 133, Dongcheng District, S City. Looking at such a crude admission certificate, Zhao Fan's mouth twitched slightly. This college has no reputation at all. It's really. Zhao Fan put away the admission and climbed into bed very naturally. The breathing method was always running, and he no longer needed to practice it deliberately. When nothing happened, sleeping was naturally the best. Cultivation has no time, time passes quickly. The next day, Zhao Fan woke up very early. This time he was called out by a prompt from his relatives. It is detected that the host's mental power reaches the minimum standard. Mangekyo Sharingan Susano has been unlocked. After stretching, Zhao Fan realized that he had only received messages from Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu when he upgraded Mangekyo. It turns out that Susano had not been unlocked before, and his mental power had to reach a minimum level. Thinking of the minimum standard, Zhao Fan was shocked and quickly checked his current mental power. Mental power, 501, silver level. Really, with his mental power reaching 500 points, Zhao Fan is now a silver level superpower. Other attributes have also improved a few points through continuous practice. At this time, a colorful bell rang, interrupting Zhao Fan's excitement. Hello. After taking the phone, Zhao Fan answered the call. Zhao Fan, I am Su Yan. By the time Zhao Fan saw Su Yan, it was already past 8 in the morning. Arriving in front of Su Yan, Zhao Fan looked around with some confusion and asked Su Yan, "Are you alone? Why didn't that big guy from the sea-level earth element come over?" When they were in the newcomer secret realm, Zhao Fan sold the 2 god-restoring fruits to Su Yan and his teammates. The content of the transaction is cultivation resources of similar value. Of course, they all know that although the Sushan fruit is arranged by the school, there is no requirement that it cannot be taken out except that one person cannot eat too much or destroy it. Transactions will also not be blocked. Therefore, the school acquiesced to Zhao Fan's behavior. "Well, Shilei and I are together, so I can do it alone," Su Yan said with a smile. Compared to when she was at school, Su Yan seemed more relaxed at this time. After seeing Zhao Fan, he walked towards the street. Zhao Fan nodded. Seeing that Su Yan and Shilei had no problem with the reduced energy of the god-retracing fruit, he stopped thinking about it. "Then what have you prepared?" Zhao Fan still asked very directly, and Su Yan answered without any surprise. "We purchased 2 copies of Energy Essence online last night. It is a very suitable resource for people with superpowers to practice. After all, there is an upper limit for practicing with crystal stones, but there is no limit for energy essence." Hearing Su Yan's words, Zhao Fan suddenly felt very unhappy. Another information gap. Su Yan didn't notice Zhao Fan's expression and continued to add, "Energy essence can be said to be an upgraded version of crystal stones, and it has an effect on superpowers below the gold level. Although it is relatively slow to absorb, it is better because there is no limit. However, due to manufacturing process issues, it is difficult to purchase from official channels. It took us a long time to find it." Quote, "Can't buy it from official channels. What about insurance? Why don't you use it? Isn't this better than the magic fruit?" Hearing this, Zhao Fan directly asked the doubts in his heart. "After all, why don't you keep such a good thing for your own use?" Su Yan shook her head and said with great certainty, "Although it is not an official channel, any transaction will be officially recognized, but the items need to be collected at the location designated by the merchant. Compared with the god-restoring fruit, this energy essence is no different from a crystal. Apart from having more energy than a crystal, it has no other effect. And don't you know, if mental power is constantly growing with energy essence, mental power will be very fragile, so most people use it to supplement the consumption of developing superpowers and restore mental power." Quote. Su Yan paused slightly when she said this, and looked at Zhao Fan with a hint of doubt. At the same time, the footsteps that had been moving forward also stopped. "This is it." Su Yan compared the map information on her phone and spoke to Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan looked up and saw a slightly plain store in front of them on this not-so-wide street. It's said to be a store, but it's actually not that big. The original sign of the store can no longer be seen clearly, and the 4 large characters on the LED display panel below are glowing red. "Goddess Store," Zhao Fan muttered in a low voice, looking at the words, "Goddess Store," on the panel. Something strange arose in his heart. However, Zhao Fan didn't think too much, and immediately walked inside with Su Yan, while asking Su Yan calmly, "Is this the place the merchant requested?" Su Yan nodded, a trace of confusion flashed in her eyes. In his heart, he also had some doubts as to why the merchant would choose to be in such a remote place. Zhao Fan calmly moved his eyes away from Su Yan's face and looked inside the entire store. "But I found that there was only one young man sitting at the checkout counter and playing with his mobile phone in the store, and no one else was there." After seeing them come in, the young man didn't even raise his head or stand up to greet them. At this time, Su Yan took a step forward and spoke to the young man. "Hello, I'm here to pick up the goods, 4521-5514-4455, call whatever you want." Under Zhao Fan's gaze, the young man at the cashier finally reacted. He glanced at Su Yan and Zhao Fan casually, then took out a book and searched for it, then stood up and took out a book from the cabinet behind him. Silver metal box. In a mall full of ordinary products, this silver metal box looks very out of place. There were 4 numbers written on the silver box. Zhao Fan saw that it was the last number of Su Yan's mobile phone. After all, he had just received a call from Su Yan, so he could naturally remember it. The young man placed the metal box directly on the counter, then picked up the mobile phone beside it and started reading it. Sign for it and remember to leave a positive review. A plain voice came from the young man's mouth. This was the only thing Zhao Fan and Su Yan said after they entered the door. Su Yan nodded, checked the information given by the merchant, and picked up the metal box. As soon as it was opened, an energy wave suddenly came out of the box. It seemed that the shell of the box itself had the effect of blocking energy reactions. 2 blue hexagonal crystals in the box lie quietly on the black background cloth. Zhao Fan, this is the energy essence. Take a look, what do you think? Su Yan said and handed the box to Zhao Fan, with a trace of hesitation and distress in her eyes. It could be seen that he still had a desire for energy essence in his heart. After all, even if energy essence cannot be used more, it can still increase a lot of mental power. Zhao Fan took it. When he knew what the energy essence was, he knew that Su Yan had really taken the trouble this time, and it was better than the crystal and would definitely be absorbed by the system. As expected, the moment his hand touched the box, the reminder of relatives rang very quickly. I want to be inside, 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 inside. Detection energy 1500*2, does the host absorb it? Wow, there's still a lot of energy. Zhao Fan closed the box in his hands very naturally, and at the same time agreed to the system's request to absorb energy in his mind. With the arrival of energy points, Zhao Fan's mood became better, and he felt much more pleasing to the eye when looking at Su Yan. Not bad, I'm very satisfied. He could see Su Yan's expression in his eyes. He could do this for a verbal deal and even get him energy essence. Zhao Fan felt that such a person was worth communicating with more. It's no problem, let's go. After seeing that Zhao Fan had no problem, Su Yan prepared to leave with Zhao Fan. The moment Zhao Fan and the two walked out of the store door, the two figures stopped in place, motionless. Then a strong man walked out of the store and laughed. Ha ha ha, Shaoqi did a good job. This illusion is indeed much more convenient. I will share more resources with you after this order is completed. The young man who had been at the checkout suddenly became happy and said quickly. Thank you, third brother. Thank you, third brother. At this time, a slightly cold voice sounded in the young man's ears. Humph, young people just like to waste time. Behind the young man, where there was no light, a slightly short figure slowly emerged from the shadow. The young man suddenly felt like he was breaking out in a cold sweat, his pupils shrank, and he nodded quickly. 4. Brother, okay. It seemed that Shaoqi was particularly nervous because of the appearance of this short fourth brother, and her voice sounded a little unnatural. The three of them came to Zhao Fan and Su Yan, who were motionless. It's a pity that the SSS level genius is no longer in Z City. Those people moved really fast. But if it weren't for them, we might have to wait for a while. Although the strong man, the third child, was complaining about something, he smiled happily, and then looked at Su Yan and Zhao Fan. Su Yan has an A-level firepower. It would be amazing if he could become one of his own. After sizing up Su Yan and confirming that the target was correct, the third child focused on Zhao Fan. The moment he saw Zhao Fan, the third child frowned. Huh, what's going on with this kid? Is this a pupil technique? Although both of them were still motionless, the third child suddenly felt a chill in his heart when he saw the scarlet magatama eyes in Zhao Fan's eyes. Shaoqi, your illusion won't be broken by this kid, right? The third child looked at the young man Shaoqi with some dissatisfaction and questioned. Third brother, how is that possible? I am at the silver level. Even though I have just entered the silver level, it is not something that a kid like this who has just awakened can resist. Shaoqi also paid attention to Zhao Fan's eyes, and at the same time felt that this was impossible. You must know that it took him more than 3 months to reach the silver level. This was achieved through a combination of various resources and practice. After hearing this, Lao San also felt that it made sense. It was because Shaoqi's illusion ability was very strong and more suitable for this kind of task of robbing talents, so the organization assigned him to their team. Forget it, this kid is Zhao Fan, right? The one with E-level eye skills. After ignoring Zhao Fan's scarlet eyes, the third child shook his head disdainfully and said, I really can't understand that AB-level transformation type superpower was defeated by such a kid. It's really embarrassing. However, with this kid's superpower, he can be sent to the laboratory. The fourth child standing in the shadows kept his eyes on Suyan and Zhao Fan. He had noticed the difference in Zhao Fan's eyes as soon as he came over. Okay, third brother, hurry up and take them all with you. Even the strong third child was a little uncomfortable with the cold voice of the fourth child. Fourth brother, it's getting darker and darker. Why are you so anxious? Our team is not the only one today. I'm afraid the city guard will be too busy. We have enough time. If it weren't for this kid, we would have arrested all those B-level guys today, but I didn't expect that Wang Tang couldn't even cure his child. After teasing the fourth child, before the other party looked over, the nagging third child quickly took out 2 special metal rings from his backpack. The material was very similar to the metal box containing energy essence. However, the third child still felt a little unhappy. You must know that in their organization, all B-level and above superpowers are on the bounty list. You can get a lot of rewards if you bring one back. Let alone 2. Just because Zhao Fan defeated Wang Dan, according to the information they received, Wang Dan was still placed in Wang Tang's own medical room and was still awake. Therefore, they had no chance to take away Wang Dan. The third child only felt that he had suffered a huge loss. At the same time, he reached out and put one of the metal rings directly around Su Yan's neck. With a click, the metal ring flashed with a white light and then returned to its original shape. Seeing that the metal ring was successfully activated, the third child couldn't help but nodded. To say that the sealing ring developed by the organization is indeed good. It's not like what we used to do before, which had to be knocked unconscious after a lot of effort. The third child said as he prepared to put another metal ring on Zhao Fan's head. Next second, a strong feeling of palpitations arose spontaneously. Lao San felt the fatal aura behind him without any hesitation. His whole body quickly expanded in a circle. With an explosion on the ground, Lao San disappeared in place. Who is it? Lao Si, Shaoqi. At this time, the image of Lao San has changed drastically. He was originally very strong, and now he is like a hairless King Kong. The vigilant Lao San called out to his teammates several times. However, Lao Si and Shaoqi, who were originally beside him, did not respond at this time. The entire mall was quiet at this time, as if he was the only one in this place. Buzz buzz. In the shadow behind Lao San, a slender figure wrapped in shadow slowly appeared. Lao San was shocked and turned around quickly. Fourth child. Looking at the figure with very similar powers to the fourth child, the third child asked tentatively. But after still not getting a response, a violent aura flashed in Lao San's eyes. Whether you are the fourth child or not, go to hell now. Without restraining the impulse in his heart, Lao San directly attacked the figure in front of him. A punch hit the figure in the head. Empty. The third child's eyes widened slightly, and then a black shadow flashed past. Sensing the crisis, the third child roared angrily and punched hard from the side. Phew. The feeling of the fist piercing through the flesh made Lao San's tense nerves relax, and then a large amount of warm liquid gushed out, and some even sprinkled on Lao San's face. Gia, I caught him. When the third child saw clearly who the figure he had penetrated was, what he was about to say was suddenly blocked in his throat and he couldn't say it. Gulu. PFF'd. The young man, Shaoqi, was hanging on Lao San's thick arm. His entire chest was completely transparent, and blood was continuously flowing out from it. Shaoqi, who was bleeding from the mouth and nose, looked at the third brother with blank eyes, with a trace of confusion in his eyes, as if he was wondering why the third brother wanted to kill him. His hands were on Lao San's arms, and his whole body was twitching slightly. 7. Lao San only felt his scalp numb at this moment, and he didn't know how to deal with such a result. He killed his teammates. However, Shaoqi would not survive because of Lao San's thinking. After more than 10 seconds, he lost his breath and hung his hands feebly aside. Plop. Shaoqi's broken body fell to the ground, and Lao San's whole body began to tremble. There was still Shaoqi's blood on his right arm. Fourth. What on earth is going on? The third child shouted angrily at the shadow that appeared on the side. Hey, third child, don't worry about others, you should take care of yourself. The cold voice of the fourth child came from the shadows. However, the fourth child's words made the already angry third child even more furious. Like a violent monster, it rushed towards the place where the fourth son's voice appeared. The third child raised his fist and punched the shadow hard. As soon as it hit the shadow, it was like hitting jelly, and the power was quickly dispersed. Fourth child, it turns out, it's really you. This familiar feeling will naturally never be forgotten by the third child. This is the unique defense of the fourth child. This feeling of being betrayed by his teammates made Lao San even more irritable and quickly withdrew his fist. The body swelled again, the teeth quickly elongated and became extremely sharp, thick hair came out from under the skin, and soon covered the whole body. At this time, Lao San no longer looked like a human being, and his whole person turned into a King Kong orangutan. Roar! The third child slapped his chest twice with both arms, raised the hammer with both hands, and quickly smashed it towards the position where the fourth child was defending just now. Boom! The huge force shook the entire ground, and a shock wave spread rapidly with Lao San as the center, shaking the surrounding buildings. Click! There was a clear cracking sound from the shadow attacked by the third child, and at the same time, the fourth child's doubtful voice rang out. "Huh, third child, are you crazy?" Just now, the fourth child also felt a fatal threat, so he escaped directly into the shadow. This is his power, B-level Logia, Dark Branch, Shadow. Can hide one's figure in any shadow. After hiding in the shadow, the fatal feeling still did not disappear. Lao Si still felt uneasy. After changing several shadows in succession, he found that the feeling of being watched still existed. However, after calling the third child to no avail, the fourth child directly chose to use his strongest defense, which was a skill he developed alone. Can withstand a gold primary physical type attack once. At the same time, it also has good defense capabilities against other types of attacks. Who is it? The fourth child successfully hid, and the fatal feeling in his heart slowly disappeared, but he did not dare to let down his guard. At the same time, he was very confused. It was not just someone who could let them fall into the trap without knowing it. As for Shaoqi, Lao Si doesn't care about his life or death. He is just a newcomer who has recently joined their team. I just don't know how the third child is doing. The fourth child can be regarded as the best in their team's survivability. Therefore, the fourth child hiding in the shadow defense is more worried about the third child outside. Boom! Just when Lao Sibai was puzzled, the defense formed by the shadow suddenly fluctuated. This sudden change shocked the fourth child and he quickly checked his defense. After realizing that the attack intensity was not enough, he breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay, I just don't know who the enemy is and how many there are. And there are quite a few people who know about this mission, is there a traitor? Thinking of this, Lao Si's eyes flashed coldly, and he decided to investigate this matter carefully after returning. Then his eyes returned to the place where he was attacked just now. If it was just the same level of attack, maybe. Before the fourth child could react, there was an explosion from the shadow defense, followed by a sound like breaking glass from the shadow. At this time, the fourth child also saw the people who had been attacking him. Turns out to be the third child who started demonization. Huh, third child, are you crazy? The fourth child said in shock and anger. He did not expect that it was the third child who attacked him. Is it possible that the third child is one of theirs? Such an idea flashed through Lao Si's mind, and then was rejected by him. Just when he was about to ask Lao San about the situation. Go to hell, old four. After the demonization, Lao San had no intention of giving up and continued to attack him fiercely like a ferocious beast. Huh, the third child has lost his mind. Facing Lao San in this state, Lao Si didn't dare to attack him head-on. He had to emerge from the shadow and quickly move to the side to avoid Lao San's attack. Bang! The third child hit the wall behind the fourth child hard and crashed directly through the wall. The fourth child withdrew to the side and carefully looked at everything around him. Judging from the current situation, there must be an enemy hiding in the dark. At the same time, he also saw Shaoqi's body and the pierced chest. At first glance, it's Lao San's method. Who is it? This ability. Laugh. The King Kong orangutan like Laosin walked out from behind the damaged wall. Hot white gas came out of his mouth and nose. He stared at the fourth child with fierce eyes. The third child has not lost his mind. The careful fourth child finally saw the third child's eyes this time. Apart from anger, he didn't seem to be crazy because he had lost his mind. This discovery immediately made his heart sink. If the third child had not lost his mind, he would still attack him. Something's wrong. Everything about this is wrong. The fourth child kept thinking about what details he had not discovered yet. The third child would not betray sooner or later, but to take action at this time, the fourth child felt it was unreasonable no matter what he thought. Is it just to kill Xiaoqi? The fourth child glanced at Xiaoqi's body and then rejected this idea. To put it bluntly, although he is the fourth most powerful player in their team, his strength is not much different from that of the third child. The two of them just have different abilities. Therefore, the fourth child does not think that the third child can keep him by attacking him like this. Just when the third child rushed in front of him again, the fourth child's eyes flashed, and he had a guess in his heart. For a while, the fourth child kept dodging from the punches and kicks of the third child, and occasionally used his shadow defense to stop him. In fact, he was using a ray of shadow to reach Lao San's ear and convey his voice. Lao San, what do you like best? Do you still remember what happened that day by the Daming River? What is the purpose of the organization? But Lao San didn't respond at all, and you could even see his eyes looking at him even more resentfully. The fourth child finally determined one thing: they were being tricked. After this trial, he found that Lao San could not hear his voice at all, or that what he heard was not what he said. Compared with this person's illusion, Xiaoqi is really useless. The fourth child cursed secretly in his heart, and then glanced at the third child. His whole body was like a shadow that quickly enveloped the third child. Immediately afterwards, the mental power fluctuated rapidly and spread towards Lao San's mind. Laosan's attack stopped immediately as if he pressed the pause button. Plop! The fourth child broke away from the shadow of the third child and lay directly on the ground. His body was weak, his face was pale, and he was sweating profusely. This is what mental exhaustion looks like. The method of separating mental power from the body can only be used at the gold level. After using the strongest defensive ability once, the fourth child was able to use it at the peak of silver, which naturally drained the mental power. Only in this way can the fourth child wake up the third child who is affected by the enemy's illusion. Otherwise, if they make such a big fuss, they will be the ones who suffer in the end. The fourth man stood up staggeringly, cursing in his mouth. Third brother, I will definitely explain it to the boss when I go back this time. Your mental power is really too low. The motionless Lao San did not shrink in size, but the anger in his eyes had faded. He was silent for a while before speaking. Fourth, I'm sorry. After the demonization, Laosan's voice was very rough and wild. At this time, his emotions were no longer as sensitive as before and seemed very stable. Humph. What's the use of saying sorry now? I can't take action anymore. This operation is considered a failure. Hurry up and withdraw. The fourth child, who had been breathing heavily, seemed to be out of the shadow, and his speech was no longer as cold as before. The third child bent down and tried to pick up the fourth child, but at the same time he became increasingly vigilant. They know that they cannot relax at this moment. Tap tap tap. A pair of scarlet lights lit up from the dark place. As the footsteps gradually approached, the bodies of the third and fourth children shook slightly. They looked at each other silently and then looked towards the entrance of the mall. As the figure got closer, the pair of scarlet lights became clearly visible, and the special 3 Magatama eyes made both the third and fourth children stunned. Only then did the memories they had subconsciously ignored come to mind. It's you, the third and fourth children said in unison, their eyes full of shock. In fact, they had some guesses about the enemy in the dark. After all, they are not the only team in the organization, and naturally they also have competitors. In this organization, trash does not deserve to live. They have already made a small list of people who can attack them in secret. However, when the enemy came out, they realized that they were wrong. How could it be you? The third child was very shocked and blurted out these words. It was Zhao Fan who came out of the darkness. A pair of Sharingans stared at the third and fourth children. Even though the 3 of them were standing, and even the third child was half taller than Zhao Fan, they still felt like they were being looked down upon. After realizing that the illusion just now was all Zhao Fan's pupil technique, the third and fourth children couldn't help but curse the intelligence team's dereliction of duty in their hearts. Of course, they also know that this is not the fault of the intelligence team. After all, who would have thought that a student who had just awakened for a few days could have such strength? This is no longer a question of intelligence. I didn't expect that we were mistaken. The fourth child looked at Zhao Fan and smiled at himself, and then said to Zhao Fan, "You should have reached the silver level, right? It seems that we have all underestimated your ability in eye skills. You can affect the illusion of Lao San and I, and you are the most powerful genius I have ever seen in the use of illusion." Seeing that Zhao Fan didn't seem to be in a hurry to take action, the fourth child even made a nice gesture towards Zhao Fan. Then he continued, "Through illusion interference, it affects my and Laosan's perception and 5 senses, and leads us to kill each other. To be honest, if you hadn't appeared in front of us, it would be hard for me to believe that this was just a method that a student who had just come out of the newcomer's secret realm could think of." Quote. The fourth child's words were full of recognition and appreciation for Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan seemed to be listening very seriously. Then he seemed to have thought of something and asked Zhao Fan a question. "You are a genius. Do you know what the greatest weakness of genius is?" As soon as he finished speaking, the third child next to the fourth child brought out an afterimage and rushed towards Zhao Fan with an explosion. The next second he was already in front of Zhao Fan. The third child raised his fist high, with a ferocious expression on his beastly face, and hit Zhao Fan on the head. Seeing this, Lao Si laughed loudly. The greatest weakness of genius is being too confident. However, Zhao Fan looked at Lao San, who was completely covering him in front of him, and seemed not surprised by Lao San's sudden action. As Laosan's attack gets closer and closer, Zhao Fan's scarlet Sharingan moved slightly. Magic. The art of shackles. Lao San's fist stopped immediately, only 1 centimeter away from Zhao Fan's head. If he had stopped a little slower, with the strength shown by Lao San, Zhao Fan would definitely be confused. At this time, Lao San felt severe pain in his limbs. He quickly looked sideways and saw 4 wedges driven directly into his limbs and stuck on the ground. At the same time, physical freedom is completely lost. "You know I can hallucinate, and you still think you can surprise me and sneak up on me." Zhao Fan's cold voice sounded after the fourth child, which made the fourth child, who felt bad when he saw the third child stop suddenly, feel a chill down his spine. In his field of vision, Zhao Fan was still standing next to Lao San, and Zhao Fan's voice also appeared behind him. The fourth child didn't have time to think too much. His body quickly became thinner. A tail stretched out from behind and stabbed towards the back quickly. Whoosh! The tail hit the empty space hard, making a muffled sound. At this time, the image of Lao Si changed drastically. His whole person was like an enlarged mouse, with a sinister look on his face. "Is this your hidden trump card?" However, before he could react, Zhao Fan had already appeared in front of him, and Sharingan's light was deeply imprinted in his pupils. Genjutsu. Sharingan. Zhao Fan rubbed his temples and used Sharingan for a long time. It was very stressful for him because he had just entered the silver level. Even if he only used the Genjutsu ability of Sharingan itself, he did not use Mangekyo Sharingan. Against Shaoqi, Zhao Fan just used Mirror Heaven and Earth Turn to reflect his illusion and applied Genjutsu. Just let Shaoqi touch Porcelain Laosan's fist directly. But the third and fourth children are different from Shaoqi. They are not new silver level superpowers. They have reached a certain level of mental power and superpower use. It can be said that if it were not for the fact that Zhao Fan's Sharingan does not need to be developed and is directly controlled at full level, coupled with mental control, otherwise it would be hard to say who would win in this battle. Of course, this is under the premise that Zhao Fan does not use Mangekyo. Fortunately, after this Genjutsu attack, the third and fourth elders were severely lacking in mental strength. Less than half an hour passed. Zhao Fan has obtained the information he wants through Genjutsu. That's right, the reason why Zhao Fan took action was not only because he didn't want to be manipulated by others, but also because he wanted to obtain more information. Sharingan itself has the ability to invade the enemy's spirit and read the memory. Besides, these two enemies are already unable to resist, so why not use it? Zhao Fan glanced at Lao San and Lao Si who couldn't move. He already knew the information. It's time to deal with them too. Zhao Fan controlled the two of them to walk to Shaoqi's body and stand together. His right eye widened. Sharingan directly transformed into the shape of a sickle and windmill, with blood leaving his eyes. Amaterasu. Focusing on the third and fourth children, black flames suddenly started to burn out of nowhere. In just 2 seconds, it was all over the bodies of Lao San and the other two. No, what kind of flame is this? Ah, you can't kill us, you. The old 3 and 4 who were burned by Amaterasu broke away from Genjutsu. After finding themselves wrapped in black flames and unable to be extinguished with mental power or supernatural powers, they lay down and rolled on the ground to no avail. Following several screams, 3 seconds later, the 3 figures had disappeared, leaving only a pool of black flames swaying on the ground. Zhao Fan quickly closed his eyes. The stinging pain from his right eye forced him to cover it with his hand. As he closed his eyes, the only black flame slowly disappeared. After calming down for a while, Zhao Fan wiped away the blood stains on his face. After opening his eyes, he found that the vision in his right eye had become a little blurry, and it slowly became clear after a few seconds. Is this a side effect? Zhao Fan whispered that the first time he killed someone, he didn't seem to feel much discomfort in his heart. Perhaps it was because Amaterasu's killing method was too harmonious, fast, and not bloody. What makes Zhao Fan happy is that he is very satisfied with the power of Amaterasu for the first time. Unlike Amaterasu in the original work, who burned through the toad's stomach in 3 seconds in the early stage, but couldn't even burn through his clothes in the later stage. As for why he killed these 3 people, Zhao Fan just felt that he would not be relieved if he did not do this. After all, he turned out to be an otaku, not the mentally retarded person he was. It would be better to just die if you were merciful towards the enemy. Zhao Fan, who successfully completed the destruction of corpses and traces, clapped his hands, and now he had to deal with the last thing. Returning to the door of the store, Su Yan was still standing there motionless, clenching his teeth, closing his eyes tightly, as well as his trembling body and slightly twitching muscles, which were enough to prove that he had woken up long ago. But this is normal, after all. Shao Qi, who imposed the illusion, was the first to die. Due to the angle problem, Su Yan, who escaped from the illusion, did not see Zhao Fan's Sharingan. Hearing Zhao Fan's footsteps getting closer and closer, Su Yan's breathing became a little faster. It was obvious that he was getting nervous. Seeing that Su Yan did not sneak away alone, Zhao Fan nodded with satisfaction. Sensible. Patting Su Yan's shoulder, Sharingan appeared again. Zhao Fan didn't care because his touch caused Su Yan to tremble suddenly, and he spoke lightly. Classmate Su Yan, are you having an epilepsy attack? After hearing Zhao Fan's voice, Su Yan opened her eyes and saw the strange pattern of pupils again. Compared with when he was in the newcomer's secret realm, although it was the same pattern, the feeling given to Su Yan was completely different. All he feels now is panic. Ha, classmate Zhao Fan. You. Daughter joking. Su Yan suppressed the fear in her heart and said to Zhao Fan, although he didn't know what the 3 people saw in the illusion just now. But in his eyes, it was fratricide from beginning to end. Shaoqi rushed over and was beaten to death by the 3rd child, who then attacked the 4th child crazily. Su Yan could hear what they said, so he could also guess that it was precisely because of Zhao Fan's eyes that they were like this. The scene that happened next made Su Yan feel cold from head to toe. The moment he saw the black flame, he felt that his own life was insignificant. It seemed that as long as he touched a trace of flame, he would die without a burial place. And this is indeed the case. The 2 people burned by the black flames just screamed twice and it ended, and Shaoqi, who had died long ago, completely disappeared. Su Yan was so frightened that she closed her eyes tightly and did not dare to move, lest Zhao Fan would think something was wrong and burn him to death. Therefore, he did not see Zhao Fan's eyes bleeding and covering his eyes. Zhao Fan didn't speak. Under the gaze of those eyes, Su Yan felt that the atmosphere was becoming more and more depressing and the air was becoming more and more solid. Finally, when Su Yan was about to be unable to bear the psychological pressure, Zhao Fan slowly spoke. I left after completing the deal with you, and you stayed here alone, because their target was you. You have forgotten everything that just happened. You are trapped in an illusion and don't know anything. When you wake up, you will have been saved. As Zhao Fan spoke, Su Yan listened quietly, keeping her gaze on Zhao Fan's eyes, motionless. Zhao Fan decided to use Sharingan hypnosis hint to rewrite what Su Yan had just seen. As long as Su Yan's mental power did not exceed Zhao Fan, then hypnosis could not be broken. After all, the relationship between him and Su Yan is not deep, so there is no question of trust or distrust, but he can't kill him casually. One is because his own rules of life do not allow it, and the other is because Su Yan saw some scenes in his memory. This gave Zhao Fan a better idea. No matter what kind of mission he had after traveling through time, he didn't want to continue fighting alone. Judging from Su Yan's performance so far, it's pretty good. After taking a deep look at Su Yan, Zhao Fan quickly left the store with the metal box. Su Yan was left standing there blankly. It took more than 10 minutes for a group of people to arrive here. They wore uniforms with a city guard logo hanging on their shoulders. Captain, this is where the energy response of a silver-level battle can be found. The person walking at the front said to the middle-aged man with a Chinese character face next to him. The middle-aged man looked angry and quickly assigned others to search nearby. Code, what's going on today? Problems occurred in several places at the same time. Even the city lord has been held back. What on earth are these people trying to do? The middle-aged man who has been running back and forth until now is obviously very angry, but there is nothing he can do. The golden-level city guard in the city never showed up, which gave the middle-aged man a bad feeling. If it weren't for my injury. The middle-aged man clenched his fists and thought angrily. Captain, there's a discovery here. It's a boy. A voice came from not far away, making the middle-aged man's eyes light up. It was the voice of his team member. He stepped forward and hurried over quickly. After getting closer, the middle-aged man saw the broken walls, blood all over the ground, and the broken ground. My dear, I'm afraid this is either paramesha or a masterpiece of transformation. A young man who was following closely behind the middle-aged man couldn't help but speak. Upon hearing this, the middle-aged man glared at him, and then looked at the scene. Goddess. Looking at the LED display panel, it seemed that it had been affected by the battle, and the text at this time started to flicker. The character, Yao, after the character, Nu, keeps appearing. Demon God. Temple. The sound of gnashing teeth came out of the middle-aged man's mouth. At the same time, the air pressure in his body dropped instantly, and some tiny ice crystals began to appear. It made several people following him shiver with cold. Captain, what is the demon temple? One of them asked curiously, and the others also looked at the captain curiously. This was the first time they had seen a middle-aged man react so much to the words, demon temple. Don't ask more questions than you should. By this time, the middle-aged man had calmed down and walked towards Su Yan, who was standing motionless at the door of the store. Captain, the information has been confirmed. It's Su Yan from No. 1 Middle School. He has A-level fire powers. The city guard standing beside Su Yan quickly reported. He has a device around his neck that can block mental activities. It is only effective for bronze-level people. Looking at his current state, it is very consistent with the characteristics of being trapped in an illusion. He does not appear to be awake for the time being. The middle-aged man listened quietly to the team members' reports, his eyes constantly examining Su Yan. Su Yan looked at the metal ring around his neck emphatically. In his opinion, if today's turmoil had something to do with the demon temple, it would naturally be because of these young children who had awakened advanced powers. And the Su Yan in front of me, a genius with A-level fire powers, had even used the ban method, but he was not taken away. Is there anyone else? The middle-aged man thought of the large bloodstain outside. Apart from the environment destroyed by the battle, only that bloodstain could be used as a clue. Thinking like this, the middle-aged man stretched out a finger, and a snowflake quickly condensed on his fingertip, exuding a cold breath. He nodded at Su Yan's forehead. Others didn't stop when they saw this scene, as if they were used to it. Well, you are, the city guards. The eyes that had been absent-minded finally played their role. After refocusing, Su Yan saw that she was surrounded by a group of people wearing the same uniform. He was suddenly startled, and subconsciously wanted to use his powers, but found that the mental power in his mind was like stagnant water, and there was no response at all. Only then did Su Yan feel that there was a special metal ring around his neck. It seemed that it was because of this thing that he could not mobilize his mental power at all. Seeing Su Yan's series of reactions, the middle-aged man's eyelids twitched, and then he motioned to help him take off the thing. Hello, classmate Su Yan, we are the 3rd detachment of the City Guard Brigade. My name is Bai Hang, and I am the captain of the team. A middle-aged man, Bai Hang first introduced himself to Su Yan, and then asked after making sure that Su Yan had returned to normal. Classmate Su Yan, do you have any impressions of being attacked? After the metal ring around her neck was removed, Su Yan felt her mental energy become active again, and her nervousness eased. After hearing the question from the middle-aged man in front of her, she noticed the post-battle environment around her. After seeing that she was still standing at the door of the store, Su Yan's pupils couldn't help but shrink slightly. Captain Bai. Su Yan swallowed, looked at Bai Hang and said, her tone seemed a little embarrassed. If you hadn't helped me, I wouldn't have known I was still here. Su Yan now understood that he had been controlled by someone unknowingly. If it weren't for the city guards in front of him, he might not have been able to wake up. Yeah, Bai Hang could sense Su Yan's embarrassment, and based on his experience, he could be sure that Su Yan was telling the truth. However, there are still some things that need to be confirmed with Su Yan. After that, Bai Hang obtained information about why Su Yan appeared here, the location designated by the merchant, the transaction between Su Yan and Zhao Fan, and the fact that Zhao Fan left first after the transaction was completed. After Su Yan explained everything he knew, Bai Hang saw that Su Yan was in a lethargic state, so he arranged for someone to escort him back. Captain, all surveillance in this area has been destroyed, and we can only find traces of human activity in this store. Bai Hang nodded, and then ordered to his team members. Check the cellar Su Yan mentioned and see if there are any casualties nearby. Then they looked down at the information panel in their hands, which was a device they specially used to query information. Zhao Fan's profile picture and name are displayed above. Zhao Fan, E-level pupil technique. Seeing this, although Bai Hang was a little confused, he understood that Zhao Fan could leave. The most common thing the Demon Temple does is to plunder geniuses. Zhao Fan, who has E-level powers, will naturally not catch their eyes. After all, according to Su Yan's explanation, Zhao Fan was also called over by him to trade. Captain, something has been discovered. The excited voices of the team members came, which shocked Bai Hang. One of the team members found some metal fragments near a pit that looked like it had been stepped on by a pair of feet. Bai Hang's eyes narrowed when he saw some familiar metal styles. It's the blocking device on Su Yan's neck just now. This discovery gave Bai Hang another idea. Just when Bai Hang was still having a headache over these things. Zhao Fan had a headache at this time. He walked around the city before taking a taxi home. He is in a very bad state of mind right now. Fortunately, everything has been resolved and he has gained a wave of energy points, plus the intelligence information he got from the brains of the 3rd and 4th sons. The harvest is still very good. Demon Temple, believe that only the power of monsters can change the world. Use a special method to allow superpowers to have the same ability as the transformation superpower. Dual superpowers. Zhao Fan combed through the information in his mind. Lao San's superpower was strength enhancement. After being transformed by the Demon Temple, he had the ability to transform into a King Kong, which complemented his superpower. The 4th child's power is Shadow, which has the ability to transform into a shadow mouse, greatly enhancing the effect of the shadow power. Because of this, he was able to blend into the shadows. Of course, this kind of transformation is not that easy. Not only does it have to endure tremendous pain, but it also requires taking medicine regularly. Otherwise, there will be 2 consequences, one is physical rejection and collapse, the other is complete loss of reason and the existence of a monster. But in the Demon Temple, this is called returning to the embrace of the demon god. Zhao Fan curled his lips disdainfully. Every villain organization is insane. How could someone not want to be a human but still be a monster? The Demon Temple has its own class system, including half demon, first demon, second demon, and third demon. Among them, half demon is a semi-finished product that has been transformed. It will appear like a monster and cannot be controlled. The 3rd and 4th children belong to one demon and have the power of one demon. They only belong to the middle and lower ranks in the Demon Temple. After all, one's own strength is the most intuitive. There is also the third child. Their eldest is gold level and can transform into a rock and earth demon rhinoceros. The second child is also gold level and has thunder powers. He is also the power of a demon. There are 3 other teams at the same level as them. Gee, are you constantly plundering geniuses with high power levels? Zhao Fan touched his chin and thought. It is said that the master of the demon temple also has SSS level powers, and his strength is not low. This is why the Dragon Kingdom cannot directly deal with the demon temple. It's a pity that Lao San and others have never met the temple master, not even the 4 guardians of the demon temple. How pathetic, Zhao Fan murmured regretfully. Since he had already had a problem with the demon temple, he had to be prepared. If the demon temple tried to attack him in the future, Zhao Fan would not be polite. For killing demonized people like Lao San and Lao Si, Zhao Fan unexpectedly gained 2,000 points of energy. On the contrary, Xiaoqi didn't seem to be killed because of Zhao Fan, so he didn't gain anything. This still makes Zhao Fan very happy, but he still has no way to distinguish the people in the demon temple, so he can only give up the idea of killing these demons for the time being. Ahem, he is doing this for the sake of the young geniuses, in order to prevent the demonic temple and Dragon Kingdom from continuing to run rampant. Definitely not for the mere energy points. After sorting out the information he had obtained, Zhao Fan relaxed. I just lay on the bed and slept hard. After an unknown amount of time, there was a rapid knock on the door. After Zhao Fan was woken up, he looked at the time and saw that only 2 hours had passed. So I hit the gate of opening angrily and looked at the man with the Chinese character in front of me with an unhappy expression. Uncle, who are you? Seeing the door open, before the official smile on Bai Heng's face spread, he was choked back by Zhao Fan's uncle. I simply didn't laugh. After all, a lot of things happened today, and I really didn't feel like that anymore. Bai Heng's eyes were sharp. He looked directly at Zhao Fan and said seriously. Classmate Zhao Fan, I am the city guard. Oh, not interested. I don't know. Don't look for me. Bang. Before Bai Heng could finish speaking, Zhao Fan responded impatiently and quickly closed the door. A vein was visible on Bai Heng's forehead. After taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door again. At the same time, regardless of whether Zhao Fan heard or not, he shouted directly. Classmate Zhao Fan, I am the captain of the 3rd detachment of the City Guard Brigade. My name is Bai Heng. Su Yan was attacked and I want to find out about the situation from you. Wow. The door was opened. Zhao Fan looked at Bai Heng with a little nervousness, but more of curiosity. Su Yan was attacked. How is he? Seeing Zhao Fan react like this, Bai Heng felt slightly relieved and comforted Zhao Fan. Su Yan is fine and has been sent home by us. It's just that he was trading with you at the Demon God store, and then he encountered something like this again, so there are some things I want to find out from you. After hearing that Su Yan was fine, Zhao Fan nodded, but asked Bai Heng doubtfully. The Demon God store. Su Yan and I went to the goddess store. Bai Heng's eyes moved, and he smiled sheepishly. Sorry, I remembered it wrong, it was the goddess store. Did Zhao Fan still remember what happened after you and Su Yan separated? Zhao Fan spread his hands with an innocent look and said. After we separated, I took a stroll to the city. After a casual stroll, I came back. Alas, I didn't expect Su Yan to be attacked. It was really. Zhao Fan said this with a hint of happiness in his words. Bai Heng nodded. Under his observation, there was nothing wrong with Zhao Fan's nervousness, worry about his classmates, curiosity about what happened, and a trace of happiness. However, as someone who originally had gold level strength, even if he fell to the silver level first, he could still feel that Zhao Fan's mental power seemed to be consumed a lot. Bai Heng thought about the look on Zhao Fan's face that he just woke up from sleep, and felt relieved. It might be due to the child's hard training. After all, he also knew what Su Yan and Zhao Fan had traded. Thank you, classmate Zhao Fan, for your cooperation. I won't disturb you anymore. Besides, there is a recent curfew in the city. Classmate Zhao Fan should try to stay at home and not go out at night. After watching Bai Heng leave, Zhao Fan closed the door. The 3rd detachment, Bai Heng. Although Zhao Fan expected that someone would come to ask him, he was not prepared for being woken up. Fortunately, he had already used Sharingan to briefly hypnosis himself, and he was able to cope with it. Ah, The days when you can become stronger without practicing are so simple and boring. It can be said that after this matter came to an end, Zhao Fan comfortably threw himself on the bed. Next he will go to S City. In the past few days, he is planning to go to the trading market to find more blind stones to open. Then contribute to the increase in energy value. Just when Zhao Fan was resting, in a slightly dark room, 3 people were meeting here. There is a table in the middle of the house with 8 seats. Among these 3 people, one is sitting on the first seat, one is on the left, and the other is sitting on the 5th seat. The surrounding walls are covered with patterns of various monsters. Number 5, are you saying that there is no news about the 3rd and 4th children yet? The man on the left looked at Xiao Wu. Yes. Yes, second brother, there is no way to contact third brother and the others by any means. They, including Xiao Qi who just joined, all seem to be missing. According to previous intelligence, the original target was Su Yan, an A-level seed, and one of his classmates from No. 1 middle school, and the power level was only E-level. Then I searched around our meeting place, including where they were operating. Apart from traces of battle and a large pool of blood, there were no other clues. Lao Wu swallowed cautiously, and then said, after systematic comparison, the blood stains are Xiao Qi's. If Zhao Fan saw these 3 people, he would be able to recognize the eldest, 2nd and 5th in the team. Quote. The 3 of them fell into silence for a while. Lao Wu sat in his seat and kept wiping his sweat. There was such a big mistake in this operation. Not only the seeds were not brought back, but also the people were gone. Seed is what they call geniuses like Su Yan. Check carefully what happened before the 3rd and 4th children disappeared. The person who spoke this time was the boss sitting in the first place. His voice sounded very dull, but it made people feel like they were being targeted by a monster. And that seed, when the impact of this time passes, I will find an opportunity to bring it back. Well, including the E-Class 1. Yes, in the blink of an eye, 6 days passed by. The 7th day, morning. City S, at the entrance of Su Theological Seminary. Zhao Fan got out of the car carrying his suitcase, which was not too big. When he saw the scene at the entrance of the academy, Zhao Fan thought for a moment that he had returned to the days when he awakened his powers. Juniors from the transformation department. Here we come. Hey, elementary school girl, why are you carrying such a heavy luggage? Let me help you. Come here from Paramesha to report. Summoning system. Lines of people lined up at the entrance of the college, with dozens of people at each reporting location. Zhao Fan couldn't help but have a question mark in his mind, is this Sushan Academy? Looking at the plain admission notice in my hand, there seems to be nothing wrong with it. Zhao Fan waited in line obediently. After completing the report and completing all the procedures, he got his college card. Junior Zhao Fan, you go straight along this road. At the end, turn right and behind the building is the boys' dormitory. Paramesha was in charge of signing in, a slightly chubby girl with long lavender hair and a cute face. Many people didn't even bother to report and just stood aside to feel happy. Zhao Fan took the card from the girl's hand, said thank you, and walked into Sushan College with his suitcase. Although there is no beautiful senior to lead the way, there is no one to meet around the corner. It doesn't affect Zhao Fan's curiosity about the academy. As soon as he entered the academy, Zhao Fan clearly felt that the energy in the air was more intense. At least twice as much as outside. Zhao Fan took a deep breath and felt very good. After Zhao Fan walked all the way and found his dormitory 303, he found that it was a 4-person dormitory. Different from the school dormitory in his previous life, the whole room had 4 bedrooms, although the bedrooms were not big. But overall the personal space is in place. The layout of the entire room is similar to the character, Wang. As soon as Zhao Fan entered the dormitory, he was warmly welcomed by the other 3 people. Welcome to the last person in dormitory 303. Brother, you are too late. Only room 4 is empty. But we have brought the bedding back for you, you're welcome. Classmate. You, hello. The first person to speak was a young man with very delicate features that made people think he belonged to a little wolf dog at a glance. The second person who spoke looked more mature and had a slightly ordinary appearance, which made people very fond of him at first sight. As for the third one, the one who stuttered a bit was a little fat guy with a simple and honest face, but his expression was a bit reserved. Unlike the other two, he didn't seem to be used to this kind of conversation with others. Zhao Fan was not polite and quickly packed up his room number 4 and put away his luggage before returning to the living room. After the 4 people introduced themselves, Zhao Fan already knew their information. Similarly, even the 4 people were listed by name. The little wolf dog boy's surname is Yi Xingchen. The more mature person's surname is Lin Shuihai. The honest little fat man's surname is Xiao Jia. After knowing their names, Zhao Fan suddenly felt as if he had entered the protagonist's nest. 3 people with 3 surnames, none of them simple. Of course, Zhao Fan and the 4 of them still exchanged their own abilities. After all, they entered the academy to improve each other. Yi Xingchen, 18 years old, Paramesha, A-level magnetic field. Lin Shuihai, 19 years old, Paramesha, Class B explosion. Xiao Jia, 17 years old, Paramesha, A-level indestructible. Zhao Fan was stunned. Compared with Yi Xingchen and others, Yi Zhang was really inferior. The abilities of the 3 people were either A or B. When Yi Xingchen and the others knew that Zhao Fan only had an E-level pupil power, they immediately stared at him as if they were looking at some diluted treasure. Zhao Fan, are you really an E-level pupil practitioner? Yi Xingchen confirmed again in disbelief. After seeing that Zhao Fan was really not joking, the 3 of them became even more confused. After the 3 of them looked at each other and saw that Zhao Fan didn't seem to know, Lin Shuihai said to Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan, don't you know that every class in the training academy is divided according to the level of superpowers? The same applies to dormitories. Although I am AB level explosive, I can exert the attack power of an A level. In addition, I am a little older, so I was assigned to an A-level dormitory. Lin Shuihai was afraid that Zhao Fan was unclear, so he explained it carefully. Xiao Jia on the side opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say, so he had to give a heavy hum to show that Lin Shuihai was right. Zhao Fan couldn't help but be stunned by their words. Could it be the arrangement of Principal Zhao? After all, Zhao Fan couldn't think of any other reason besides this. When the 3 finally discovered that Zhao Fan didn't know the reason, they didn't go into details. They didn't have any discrimination against Zhao Fan, who only had E-level powers, and directly started ranking the dormitories according to age. Lin Shuihai is the eldest brother, Zhao Fan is the second brother who is 3 months older than Yi Xingchen, and Yi Xingchen is the third brother. Xiao Jia is the youngest, but the 4th is too old and the 4th is too bad. In the end, they unified it and called Xiao Ji. Let's go, let's have our first dinner together in dormitory 303. Celebrate our successful arrival at Sushan College. As soon as he became the boss, Lin Shuihai seemed to feel that he was coming up. With a wave of his hand, he took Zhao Fan and others directly to the cafeteria of the training academy. In addition to eating, they also let Zhao Fan know the way. After all, they came to the academy after receiving the notice, and Zhao Fan had just arrived. After eating and drinking, Lin Shuihai and the others went back to the dormitory to practice. Zhao Fan didn't need to take the initiative to practice, so he planned to go to the academy to get a level certification. Only after certification levels can you have corresponding benefits. Of course, the most important thing for Zhao Fan is to go out and kill monsters. City S is very similar to City Z. Geographically, it is very close to the border of Dragon Kingdom. It only takes 2 hours to go there and back. It can be said that in Sushan Academy, students who reach the silver level will kill monsters. Arriving at the training hall in the academy, Zhao Fan saw a particularly conspicuous notice panel at a glance. On it are written the classifications contained in the practice hall. Level certification, task inquiry and collection, points acquisition and use guidelines, usage requirements and types of practice rooms, and notification of the next time the secret realm will be opened. There is also a college forum, which is a computer-shaped transparent crystal. Of course, you can also log in using your mobile phone. After carefully reading all the information, Zhao Fan suddenly felt that his efforts were not in vain. In the points column, points are required to complete tasks, kill or capture monsters. The reason why they were captured was to prepare them for bronze level students. So this type of task is a cyclic task. After getting the points, you can also go to the Academy's exclusive mall to redeem them, where you can find all kinds of natural and earthly treasures and superpower equipment. Of course, Zhao Fan also discovered that some of the items and equipment had the producer's information written on them. In other words, these items are made by the students in the academy themselves. You can also exchange points through the mall. Zhao Fan even saw the Lei Jing he had sold in the trading hall. It only cost 100 points. Although 100 points may not seem like much, you need to kill 10 early silver level monsters to get it. Fortunately, Zhao Fan absorbed the memories of Lao San and Lao Si, and he already knew that each stage was actually divided into 10 stages. Every third segment is an issue, and the 10th segment is the peak. The early stage of silver is within the third level of silver. For a moment, Zhao Fan was full of energy and wanted to get some points to exchange for energy points. The first thing to solve is the order problem. Hello, I need to apply for silver level certification. Zhao Fan stood in front of the level certification window. The person working inside was a cute girl with double ponytails. She looked like she was just 20 years old and had big beautiful eyes. Hearing Zhao Fan's words, the girl who had been looking at her phone and laughing nonstop realized that someone was coming. He quickly straightened up and pulled down the clothes that exposed a small piece of his belly. Well, hello, do you want to apply for level certification? Please give me your academy card. After taking Zhao Fan's academy card, the girl checked the information on the computer. After seeing the content clearly, the girl suddenly raised her head and looked at Zhao Fan and asked in disbelief. Are you a freshman? The people in the practice hall were all superpowers, and naturally their hearing and vision were much better than ordinary people. This girl's voice immediately attracted the attention of others. Although the girl noticed them looking over, she didn't care and looked at Zhao Fan curiously. You're quite handsome. Are the newcomers so good now? Are you applying for silver when you first enter school? The girl muttered in a low voice, but after seeing Zhao Fan's power level, she couldn't help but scream out. E-class. 2 consecutive gaffes made other people even more curious, and even some bored people came directly towards here. Zhao Fan noticed this scene and couldn't help but twitch his lips. The instinct of people to join in the fun is indeed universal in all worlds. Senior sister, could you please hurry up? Zhao Fan saw that the girl was in a daze and quickly urged her. Oh, I'm sorry. I have already applied for you. You can put your hand on this crystal to test the content of your mental power. This is a mental power test exclusive to the silver level. There are 10 scales on it, but as long as you can make it light up, you are considered a silver level. Only then did the girl react. After returning the card to Zhao Fan, she said to Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan had long noticed something like an erected ruler on the side, which turned out to be used to test mental strength. Zhao Fan stretched out his right hand and placed it on the somewhat rounded crystal, while slowly releasing his mental power. The next moment, a white light slowly climbed up from the bottom of the ruler. It's bright. The girl's eyes lit up, which proved that Zhao Fan had really reached the silver level. In fact, the girl still couldn't believe that a newcomer had already reached the silver level just after entering school. The white light soon stopped. The girl looked over and quickly recorded it. 1 piece of silver. Okay, Junior Zhao Fan, your level information has been updated. It looks like you want to take on the mission, right? The girl looked at Zhao Fan curiously and asked. Zhao Fan nodded, and after saying thank you to the girl, he planned to go to the mission window to have a look. However, the girl stopped him. Junior, if you go like this, you won't be able to accept the mission. Seeing Zhao Fan looking at her doubtfully, the girl blinked and said with a smile. If Bai Yin wants to take on a mission, he must be in a 5-person team. This is to ensure the safety of silver-level superpowers. Only after reaching the golden level can you move freely outside the city. Quote. Hearing this, Zhao Fan couldn't help but frown. In this case, wouldn't he have to wait a long time? After experiencing the attacks from the 3rd and 4th Lao, Zhao Fan knew that his current strength was still far behind. Moreover, he also killed the 3rd and 4th elders. I am afraid that he will encounter the demon temple sooner or later. So in the past 6 days, he basically spent time in the Blind Rock area, so that after a few days, he had the title of Master of Stone Selection. It's a pity that the energy obtained is not much, and what cannot be exchanged for energy is exchanged for money. Even so, it did not improve Zhao Fan much. So, I guess Junior Zhao Fan doesn't have his own team yet. Do you want to consider joining my team? At this time, the girl who saw Zhao Fan frowning finally revealed her inner thoughts and wanted Zhao Fan to join her team. Senior, why? Zhao Fan didn't lose his mind when he saw a beautiful woman. There were at least a few T's in the learning materials from his previous life. There must be a reason why the girl wants to recruit him into the team. The girl also knew what Zhao Fan was doubting and did not hide it. My team happens to be short of an investigative person right now, and the silver rank members in the academy now have their own teams, so this position has always been vacant. After hearing the girl's explanation, Zhao Fan nodded, but he still had questions in his heart. Senior sister, I think your team should have someone responsible for investigating, right? Hearing Zhao Fan's question, a trace of anger flashed in the girl's big eyes, but she still answered to Zhao Fan. There was one before, but I left because of some problems. How about it? Junior, do you want to come? You must know that among this new generation, you are the first to be certified as silver level, and you don't know when the next one will be. Maybe it will take several months for you to gather a team. I think you've seen the academy's mall. When you reach the silver level, if you want to improve yourself, you no longer just rely on cultivation. And, let me tell you, my team is full of beautiful women. You've made a lot of money. The girl originally said it seriously, but in the end she looked a little unserious. Of course, Zhao Fan saw the flash of anger in the girl's eyes before, but he didn't care what happened here. Since you have to be in a small team to take on missions, it's not impossible to join a team. Zhao Fan only cares about 2 points. When will we set off? How will we allocate it? Seeing that Zhao Fan had been indifferent to his charm from just now until now, the girl gave Zhao Fan a boost in her heart. Moreover, Zhao Fan didn't have any special reaction to her just saying that the team was full of beautiful women, and he also asked such a question. The girl even thought that there might be something wrong with Zhao Fan. But the girl didn't hesitate and answered quickly. As soon as you join the team, you can set off almost the day after tomorrow. The allocation model of all silver teams is basically the same, and they are all allocated based on the captain. After seeing that Zhao Fan had no objections, the girl took him directly to the team formation window to go through the formalities for joining the team. Zhao Fan learned that among the silver level students in the academy, the team was already considered as a whole. It could be said that if Zhao Fan, an expert in art, was not bold, everyone else would choose their team carefully. Zhao Fan has no other choice now. If he wants to take on the mission, he must join the team. After asking the staff at the team formation window, it was the same as what the girl said. All the silver level students had teams. If he wanted to form a team, no one would be able to form one. If you look at it this way, it's not impossible to join a girl's team. When a person not far away who had been paying attention to the girl's movements saw this, he quickly took out his mobile phone and sent a message. Okay, Junior Zhao Fan, let me meet you. My name is Chen Annie, late silver, fire element. Welcome to join our flame team. Chen Annie, who finally got Zhao Fan done, was obviously relieved, and then showed a bright smile to Zhao Fan. Let's have dinner together tonight and let you see what a beauty team is. After Zhao Fan and Chen Annie exchanged contact information, Chen Annie left in a hurry, apparently to find other teammates. Zhao Fan looked at the team badge in his hand. On it was a bright red blooming rose wrapped in flames. It was a girl's idea at first glance. The extremely special material makes the pattern very vivid. This team badge is not just a decoration, it also has positioning and emergency call functions. After all, it is a prop issued by the academy and specially made to ensure the safety of students. Behind each person's badge is his or her own name and a special binding of spiritual power. In other words, except for myself, if anyone else gets this badge, it is nothing more than a stone. Just when Zhao Fan played with the badge for a while and was about to leave. Hey, wait a minute, junior fellow student Zhao Fan, right? At this time, a young man with a slicked back hair and a bit of a scornful attitude stopped in front of Zhao Fan. Is something wrong? Zhao Fan raised his brows and focused his eyes on this young man. The hostility in this man was very obvious in Zhao Fan's eyes. Haha, it seems that the junior doesn't know me yet, and that's right. After all, the junior is a freshman, so he just came to the academy and doesn't know. The young man looked gentle and elegant at this time, and said to Zhao Fan with a smile. My name is Wang Jianshou, I am your senior, 1 year older than you, I am at the peak of silver. I'm looking for my junior this time because I seem to have joined the flame team, but the water here is too deep. I'm afraid that I won't be able to grasp it, so I advise my junior to leave this team. Quote. Wang Jianshou looked very concerned about Zhao Fan and said meaningfully. Of course, seniors will not treat juniors badly. As long as you leave Team Flame, I will immediately arrange another team for you, which is also a team of beautiful girls. How about it? Zhao Fan looked at the smile on Wang Jianshou's face and couldn't help but laugh. After seeing Zhao Fan smiling, the smile on Wang Jianshou's face became even stronger. He felt that Zhao Fan should agree. Wang Jianshou, are you an idiot? Zhao Fan greeted Wang Jianshou with a smile and a gentle tone. At this time, Zhao Fan had almost understood Wang Jianshou's intention, which made him feel a little sick when he looked at Wang Jianshou. There should be some kind of conflict between Chen Annie's team and Wang Jianshou. Then Chen Annie's team was short of people. If it weren't for Zhao Fan, who suddenly had more silver from the freshman class, Chen Annie would still not be able to find anyone. At the same time, the appearance of Wang Jianshou made Zhao Fan know why Chen Annie was so eager to invite him to the team. However, now Wang Jianshou targeted Chen Annie and others and blocked him again, asking him to withdraw from the team. You know, he just learned about it at the team window, and the punishment for quitting the team can be said to be quite serious. Under normal circumstances, you are not allowed to leave the team within 1 month after joining the team, and if there are problems in the team due to you during this short period of time, it will affect your rating in the academy. The college will have teachers specifically responsible for reviewing this aspect. The final result is to affect your impression among teachers and the price increase in the mall. To put it simply, the teacher's favorability decreases and the purchasing power of points decreases. And this kind of thing involves Zhao Fan. It seems that no matter what he chooses, he will definitely offend someone. This made him very unhappy, and Wang Jianshou's behavior made Zhao Fan feel that he was not a man. Boss, why are you targeting them and barking at me? Whether I can hold it or not is none of your business. I don't care what bullshit happens between you two. Don't involve me. What annoyed Zhao Fan the most was men like Wang Jianshou. If Wang Jianshou came to provoke him again, he would definitely let him experience what 1 second and 3 days meant. Zhao Fan said and walked directly past Wang Jianshou. At this time, Wang Jianshou's face was ashen. He did not expect that Zhao Fan would reject him. In his opinion, what would happen to a junior student who had just entered school, even if he was promoted to silver level? How rude to him. Zhao Fan. Wang Jianshou was furious, and a cold look flashed in his eyes. Although he could feel Wang Jianshou's malice, he was still in the academy after all. Then he wrote down the incident in his notebook, and then went to collect the weapons prepared by the academy for the silver level students. His previous alloy spear could no longer be used due to Wang Dan's long sword and Zhao Fan's current increase in strength. Fortunately, the academy has issued it, and as long as you reach the silver level, you can receive a weapon. The quality feels pretty good. Zhao Fan touched the dark golden spear, which he selected and weighed 3,500 kilograms. There really is no heavier spear. After all, the gun is the first of the 4 famous weapons and the king of 100 soldiers. It can be used to attack when advancing and to defend when retreating. Zhao Fan naturally prefers to use a gun as a weapon. As his attributes grow, Zhao Fan has considerable combat power even when using weapons. Zhao Fan returned to the dormitory and saw that the other 3 were still practicing in his room. Zhao Fan did not disturb him. He returned to his room and began to check his attributes. Host. Zhao Fan. Power Mangekyo Sharingan ability loading. Itachi currently a level can be activated. Skills Martial Arts Grandmaster. Mental Power Control, Illumination, Disguise, etc. Mental Power 661 Silver level. After silver level, 1000 crystal energy equals 100 points of improvement. Power 319. Body 321. Min 323. Energy points 23,000 plus. After these days of accumulation, Zhao Fan's attributes have fully increased at this time. The three-dimensional attribute has reached more than 300 points. If 1 point of strength attribute at the bronze level is equal to 20 kilograms of strength of an ordinary person, and 1 point of strength attribute at the silver level is equal to 50 kilograms of strength. In other words, the power of Zhao Fan's full punch at this time can reach 7 tons or even 8 tons. In fact, as mental power increases and strength improves, the body will evolve at each stage, and the bonuses brought by attributes will also be different. Otherwise, wouldn't people with superpowers be like children with severe hemiplegia, who have no mental power and can only be slaughtered by others? This is of course impossible. If Zhao Fan compared in his mind with the previous Lao San, his physical fitness at this time was already very close to that of a peak silver superpower. You must know that peak silver levels all require more than 1 or 2 years of cultivation. Even if there is no shortage of resources, it will take more than a year. Moreover, Zhao Fan also discovered that because he had plenty of energy in the academy, he could improve his attributes by 2 points each time through the practice of breathing. Others who want to improve their physical strength can only use heavenly materials and earthly treasures or body-related superpowers, but Zhao Fan only needs to live a normal life and stay in a place with strong energy concentration. Zhao Fan's energy points have accumulated to more than 20,000 at this time. When it was originally 10,000, Zhao Fan saw that Sharingan could not be upgraded. So I wasn't watching. This time, Zhao Fan discovered that there were 3 more words after Sharingan. Can be activated. What does this mean? Chapter 31. Does host activate the skill bar of the currently loaded character? 20,000 energy points are required. Seeing the information prompted by the system, Zhao Fan's pupils couldn't help but dilate. What's the meaning? Is that what he meant? Looking at the energy points he had worked so hard to save, after a moment of tangle, Zhao Fan decided to activate them directly. The next moment, a large amount of strange and familiar information came into Zhao Fan's mind. If Zhao Fan didn't already have silver-level mental power, he would have been given a splitting headache by this information. Now Zhao Fan only has a little swelling in his head and no other discomfort. After Zhao Fan finished absorbing the information, he jumped up from the bed. How can other people survive? Zhao Fan couldn't help but say this, then frowned and slapped himself. You should have the consciousness to hang on the wall. What are you thinking about? At this time, there is an additional ability skill column on Zhao Fan's attribute panel. It contains all of Itachi's skills, from the basic 3-body technique, to fire style, water style, crow clone, shadow clone, clone explosion, psychic crow, etc. It can be said that all the skills he knows are in it. Whether it is the original work or the game. Are you going to heaven defying me? A weasel who knows Chinese martial arts. For a moment, Zhao Fan saw the spear he put aside, and suddenly felt that the spear didn't seem so fragrant. With Itachi's skill bar, who wants to play melee combat with a spear? After these skills are optimized by the system, they are all turned into skills and can be used only by consuming mental and physical energy. This made Zhao Fan completely unable to bear it, and he clapped his hands directly, shadow clone. The next moment, another Zhao Fan appeared directly next to Zhao Fan. The 2 Zhao Fans looked at each other, then poked each other in the face, feeling surprised. After playing with his clone for a while, Zhao Fan cancelled the existence of shadow clone. I feel like I'm going to swell. Zhao Fan murmured that he didn't expect his relatives to give him such a big surprise. He originally only owned Sharingan and had no other means of dealing with the enemy except using weapons for close combat. You can't always use genjutsu, right? Through the information in Laosan's mind, there are monsters that are naturally immune to genjutsu. Could it be that Zhao Fan keeps using Mangekyo? I'm afraid he will go blind after a few times. Now all of a sudden, as long as Zhao Fan is equipped with Itachi's Sharingan, he will always have so many skills. Although the energy points have shrunk significantly, with only a little more than 3,000 left, Zhao Fan feels that it is nothing. Soon, time passed like this, and speaking of Yi Xingchen, the 3 of them had been practicing. This made Zhao Fan have to lament that while others are talented and work hard, how can those who are not talented chase after them? Really, unlike him, he doesn't even need to practice. Zhao Fan came to a restaurant next to the college as agreed. When he came here, he saw Chen Annie and 3 other girls had arrived. Junior Zhao Fan. This way. Sitting next to the window, Chen Annie saw Zhao Fan at a glance and waved directly to him. Zhao Fan nodded and walked over to take a look. Chen Annie still has her big ponytail eyes, but her clothes have changed into a cute tutu skirt. The other 3 girls sat on Chen Annie's left side in turn. The first one is a girl with short hair and an oval face wearing a beige shirt, who looks very heroic. The second one has long hair and is wearing a white sportswear. She looks neat and tidy, like the sister next door. As for the third one, the first thing Zhao Fan saw was big waves. Well, it was his hair. A pair of red lips is very ladylike. But I have to say that what Chen Annie said before is true, they are indeed great beauties. While Zhao Fan was sizing them up, the 3 people next to Chen Annie were also observing Zhao Fan's every move. He found that although Zhao Fan was shocked when he looked at them, there was no evil thought in his eyes, so he looked at each other and nodded. Whenever Zhao Fan showed any evil thoughts when facing them, they would refuse Zhao Fan to join the team. Junior Zhao Fan, please sit down. Yuji is indeed a Yuji, and the smell of Yuji is overwhelming as soon as she opens her mouth. The appearance of 4 beautiful girls at the same time in a restaurant was already very eye-catching. Now it was discovered that the 4 beauties were actually waiting for a man. Suddenly the men around him began to look at Zhao Fan with hostility. Zhao Fan was not polite and sat directly opposite them. After he sat down, it was naturally time to serve the food. Chen Annie signaled to the waiter in the restaurant. My name is Yan Mang, and I am the captain of the Flame team. I am very happy that my junior has joined my team. Hello, junior fellow student, my name is Qin Xiaori. Lang Jia. After hearing the self-introductions of the 3 people, Zhao Fan could already feel the difference between them. The royal sister Yan Meng and the neighbor sister Qin Xiaori were both heroic and cold. And, cute Annie Chen. Zhao Fan quickly made a distinction in his mind between the 4 people in front of him, and then asked the seniors how they were. Seeing Zhao Fan's serious look, Chen Annie couldn't help but snicker. Today when she was in the practice hall, she noticed that Zhao Fan didn't seem to be interested in beautiful women. When she came back and told Yan Meng and others, they didn't believe it, but now they have seen it. Junior Zhao Fan, since you have joined our team, you must abide by the team's rules. I think Annie should have told you that the team leader assigned you. Zhao Fan nodded, but before Yan Meng could continue, he looked at Yan Meng and the others and spoke. After Senior Chen left, Wang Jianshou came to find me. As soon as these words came out, Yan Meng couldn't say what he wanted to say, and the resentment in his eyes suddenly welled up. The expressions of the other 3 people were similar. Yan Meng took a deep breath and glanced at Zhao Fan indifferently. In this case, Junior Zhao Fan, you can leave. I will work with you to withdraw from the team in a month. Yan Meng's tone at this time was different from before, extremely cold and distant. After all, in their opinion, Zhao Fan is just a new student who has just arrived in Baiyan. Since he has been approached by Wang Jianshou, he will naturally not be in their team. For a moment, the mood of the 4 girls was very low, and the air pressure around Lang Jia, who was already a bit cold, seemed even colder. They originally thought that they could finally find a team to complete the task. After all, cultivation requires resources, and they have been without resources for 3 months. Seeing this scene made Zhao Fan feel like a sinner. He knocked on the table angrily. I joined the team for convenience. I don't like trouble, so you can handle Wang Jianshou's affairs and don't involve me in your affairs. I don't care what happens to you. I just want to know when to leave the day after tomorrow and where to go. Are there any monsters? After hearing Zhao Fan's voice, Yan Meng's eyes suddenly lit up and she looked at Zhao Fan with burning eyes. You didn't agree to his request. Chen Annie couldn't help but ask directly. She was about to get close to Zhao Fan's face, wanting to see if Zhao Fan was lying, but she was stopped by Qin Xiaori. Zhao Fan frowned involuntarily. Yan Meng saw Zhao Fan's reaction, combined with what Chen Annie said before, and seemed to know that Junior Zhao Fan seemed to have a special obsession with completing tasks and monsters. After a short adjustment, Yan Meng returned to the state of Yuji she had just met. Junior, the mission requirements are the day after tomorrow, but before setting off, we must have a deeper understanding. Yan Meng's words immediately made Zhao Fan a little confused. What's going on? Are women so fickle? She was in a bad mood just now, but she can change her mind in an instant. Soon, Zhao Fan knew that he was overthinking. It turns out that what everyone needs to do when they first join a team is to get to know each other's strength level. Zhao Fan is naturally fearless. Okay, when? Junior, I really can't wait, but you have just entered school, so you have to report to your teacher about doing the task. Yan Meng's words reminded Zhao Fankai that he still didn't know the status of his class. I don't know who the teacher is. So he decided to go back to the dormitory later and ask Yi Xingchen and the others. By the way, check out the class tomorrow. After the meal, Zhao Fan and Yan Meng made an appointment with the time and place for tomorrow's sparring session and then returned to the dormitory. As soon as Zhao Fan came back, he saw 3 pairs of eyes constantly examining and exploring him. Okay, second brother, I didn't expect you to be so secretive. You actually ate with the beauties of the flame team. Yi Xingchen rushed to Zhao Fan and looked around Zhao Fan. After looking around but not finding what he wanted to see, he asked curiously. Let me share, which of the 4 beauties do you like best? How do you know? Zhao Fan looked at Lin Shuihai with some doubts. Before Lin Shuihai could answer, Yi Xingchen showed the phone interface in front of Zhao Fan. Look, the photos of you having dinner with the beautiful woman have been posted on the college forum. Now many people are trying to find out who you are. Yi Xingchen smiled happily. Zhao Fan took one look and then withdrew his gaze. He was not that big-hearted and asked directly to Lin Shuihai and the others. Where is our class? Who is the teacher? Lin Shuihai spread his hands and said, I don't know who the teacher is, but as for the class, we are in the same class. As far as I know, the students in this class basically have B-level abilities or above. Lin Shuihai looked at Zhao Fan with unclear eyes. Zhao Fan, you should be the only one in this class with E-level powers. Zhao Fan nodded. If that's the case, let's talk about it in class tomorrow. As for the fact that he is the only one with E-level powers in the class, so what? After talking to Lin Shuihai and others, Zhao Fan went back to his room. He still didn't want to have too much contact with people in this world. Oh, I always feel like I am out of tune with this world. Zhao Fan whispered, then lay on the bed and closed his eyes. When Yi Xingchen and others saw that Zhao Fan was not interested in chatting, they didn't pay attention either. They just pretended that Zhao Fan had just arrived and they were not familiar with him, so they couldn't let him go. I really don't know how he hooked up with the beauties of Team Flame. Yi Xingchen looked at the photos of Zhao Fan and 4 beauties having dinner, and couldn't help but smacked his lips and said with a bit of sourness. They were all freshmen, but Zhao Fan didn't expect that Zhao Fan would eat directly with the beauty, but the 3 of them could only go to the cafeteria to eat together. At this time, Xiao Jia, who had always been shy, couldn't help patting his thigh, showing his big belly. This reaction immediately attracted the attention of Yi Xingchen and Lin Shuihai. Xiaoji, what's wrong with you? Lin Shuihai couldn't help but ask. Second brother. Yes. Silver level. Xiaojia struggled to say what he wanted to say, and then handed the phone directly to Lin Shuihai. Hearing this, Yi Xingchen and Lin Shuihai were shocked. I quickly took the phone and saw this title. The freshmen who just entered school are already silver. This message was sent 5 minutes ago. This is the latest news from the college forum. When you click on it, you will see a few pictures taken in the practice hall. It was Zhao Fan who was photographed during the level certification. The picture is very clear, including the height of the white light when Zhao Fan was doing a mental test. Seeing this, Yi Xingchen and Lin Shuihai couldn't help but look towards Zhao Fan's room. This is fake. Yi Xingchen couldn't help but swallowed. Although they had no other bad thoughts about Zhao Fan only having E-level powers. But the sense of superiority itself still exists. However, while they were still practicing hard at the bronze level, someone actually got silver. It was their roommate. At this moment, Yi Xingchen, Lin Shuihai and Xiaojia seemed to understand why Zhao Fan could be in the same class as them. Lin Shuihai also touched the non-existent sweat on his head uncomfortably and said with a wry smile. I didn't expect that he already has silver level strength. Xiaojia looked confused. He wanted to say something but didn't know how to say it. After holding back for a while, he finally said a few words. I'm going to practice. Xiaojia stood up directly, took his cell phone and went back to the room. In the living room, Yi Xingchen and Lin Shuihai looked at each other. Wait a minute, then the second brother had dinner with the Flame team before, wasn't it? Yi Xingchen also reacted at this time, but this result made them even more uncomfortable for a while. When they were practicing, Zhao Fan directly defeated his own team. Now they finally understood what Zhao Fan meant when he asked about the class and the teacher. I don't plan to go to class for co-authoring, and just go out to do the assignment. Yi Xingchen and Lin Shuihai couldn't sit still anymore because they suddenly had such a roommate who could do the math well. Their family background is good, their abilities are excellent, and their normal training resources are sufficient. Even so, they can only practice step by step. In this way, they had only reached the 3rd level of bronze level, while Lin Shuihai had reached the 5th level of bronze level. I thought they were excellent among the freshmen. However, reality still hit them suddenly. Practice. They stopped looking at their phones and went directly back to their rooms to start practicing. At the same time, in their eyes, Zhao Fan started cultivating seriously as soon as he came back. If they don't hurry up, they may be dragged further. But they didn't know that Zhao Fan was sleeping soundly at this time. Early next morning, Class 1. There are already many students in the classroom chatting excitedly and looking forward to a wonderful learning career. Zhao Fan walked in front of him refreshed, followed by 3 young men with pale faces and dark eyes. Obviously, Yi Xingchen and the others practiced all night long, but because they were anxious, the results were not very good. Their expressions made Zhao Fan startled when he saw them. Zhao Fan was relieved after asking that he had just stayed up all night. Of course he didn't know that he had at least half of the credit for Yi Xingchen and others being in such a state. As Zhao Fan and others entered the classroom, the other students fell silent. After seeing the same students, they were ready to turn back and continue talking about the previous topic. But I found that the face of the man walking in front was very familiar. Just like you've seen it before. Many people focused on Zhao Fan. Oh, it's the one eating with Leon seniors. One of the teenagers was the first to remember the photo he saw while eating melon last night, and pointed directly at Zhao Fan and shouted. This time everyone remembered Zhao Fan. Is he Zhao Fan? The one with E-level I skills, but already a silver level 1. Yesterday's 2 pieces of information, one about beauty and the other about silver, were both discovered by people yesterday. They were all about the same person. After hearing their discussion, Zhao Fan's mouth twitched, feeling as if he had become famous all of a sudden. Fortunately, he will go on a mission today, so he won't have much time to study with these bronze-level classmates in the classroom. He can just report to the teacher when he comes. Fortunately, Zhao Fan didn't have to wait long, and the teacher finally came. The teacher's appearance aroused the exclamation of the whole class. Zhao Fan, who had been lying down and bored, quickly raised his head and saw a mature woman with a very stunning figure walking to the podium. A leather combat uniform shows off all the advantages of a woman's figure. The woman patted the desk and said coldly, "Quiet." That aura immediately made all the students shut up. Zhao Fan couldn't help but think of a word when he saw this scene. "Queen, my name is Zhou Qinghan, and I am your teacher." Zhou Qinghan directly wrote down the class group number and asked all students to add it, then nodded and asked, "Who is Zhao Fan?" Zhou Qinghan's words immediately made Zhao Fan the focus of the class again. Zhao Fan, who was named, was a little confused for a while, but then he reacted again. "Teacher, I am Zhao Fan." Zhao Fan stood up and replied. After seeing Zhao Fan, Zhou Qinghan's expression became gentler and he nodded, "I already know about you. You don't need to take the course at this stage. If you have any questions, come to me. By the way, you should be going on a mission. Come see me when you come back from the mission." After saying that, Zhou Qinghan signaled to Zhao Fan that he could leave. After Zhao Fan left under all the envious and jealous eyes, Zhou Qinghan turned cold and said to the other students, "If you are envious, just practice hard, and I will test your mental power below." Zhao Fan, who was surprised by Zhou Qinghan's move, left the classroom happily. Since there were no problems with the college teachers, Zhao Fan was free for a while. After thinking for a while, Zhao Fan decided to go find Chen Annie and the others. Judging from his current situation, he will have to act with them for a period of time, and he does not know all the information outside the city. Although I have some memories of Lao San and Lao Si, it is better to understand them from all aspects. With this thought in mind, Zhao Fan walked towards the exclusive Flame Team room. City Z, Wang Tang's family. Wang Shu, how are you? Is Xiaodan feeling better? In the room, Wang Tang asked the people standing aside. This man was dressed in white. He was the person with the supernatural ability to treat Wang Dan and was also Wang Tang's confidant. Sir, although the third young master has woken up from his previous coma. But because this was the first time he encountered such a fright, the psychological shadow was quite serious. I am afraid. Wang Shu shook his head slightly, his tone a little heavy. These words made Wang Tang's eyes suddenly become sharp, and he looked directly at him and said. Say it directly. I'm afraid that the third young master will be affected by this psychological shadow for a long time. Once bitten by a snake, he will be afraid of well ropes for 10 years. The third young master is in such a state now. The doctor thought about the wording and tried to express Wang Dandan's problem as much as possible. You must know that although the middle-aged man in front of him looks harmless, everyone who has come into contact with him knows that if Wang Tang becomes ruthless, it is not something that ordinary people are willing to face. So, the third young master's cultivation may be stagnant for a while. Wang Shu fell silent after he finished speaking, and Wang Tang's eyelids twitched after hearing this, not knowing what he was thinking. After a while, Wang Tang's voice sounded again. What do you think of that Zhao Fan? Wang Shu was stunned when he heard this, and then after thinking for a while, he answered. According to the information obtained, Zhao Fan's E-level pupil technique creates hallucinations, but from the perspective of my subordinates, I'm afraid it's not that simple. Judging from the third young master's condition, hallucinations alone cannot cause such a psychological shadow. Moreover, according to inspections by subordinates, the third young master's current mental power has been in a state of low activity and sluggishness, and his mental state is also very weak. So, Zhao Fan's pupil ability is definitely not an illusion. It may have reached the level of an illusion. Only an illusion can cause the transformed third young master to remain motionless until he collapses into a coma. Wang Shu said calmly. He also knew that he could think of all these, and Wang Tang could naturally think of them too. But what Wang Shu couldn't figure out was what Wang Dan had experienced in the illusion to be so frightened. Wang Shu paused for a moment, and then asked Wang Tang tentatively. Sir, then Zhao Fan, do we want to? Wang Tang glanced at him and interrupted what he was about to say, but the look in his eyes surprised Wang Shu. He thought Wang Tang would be angry because of Wang Dan's situation, but now he saw the joy in Wang Tang's eyes. That's right, it's joy, he promises he's not wrong. Wang Tang didn't care what Wang Shu was thinking, and sighed with a somewhat fanatical tone. As expected of their children, they had such abilities even when they were in E-level. Haha. Not enough. This is not enough. Zhao Fan, the current strength is not enough. As soon as the words stopped, Wang Tang returned to his calm look, and his indifferent eyes made Wang Shu standing next to him feel a little frightened. Wang Shu, my subordinate is here. Hearing Wang Tang's voice, Wang Shu responded quickly. What's going on with Zhao Fan now? Wang Shu lowered his head and quickly reported the latest information. Someone has been responsible for collecting Zhao Fan's intelligence a long time ago, and this was also Wang Tang's arrangement. However, Wang Tang did not let anyone monitor Zhao Fan, which made Wang Shu confused. Yesterday, Zhao Fan passed the silver level certification at Sushan Academy and joined an all-girl flame team. According to the intelligence, Zhao Fan will go out of the city for a mission tomorrow. Silver, Wang Tang whispered, followed by a chuckle, and then the laughter became louder and brighter. In this case, Wang Shu, find the people over there and tell them the information about Zhao Fan. Wang Tang's words made Wang Shu raise his head in surprise, but he did not ask why, but quickly lowered his head in response. If you want good steel, you need to temper it over and over again, and only the fruits that have experienced wind and rain will taste good. Wang Tang's words seemed to answer Wang Shu's doubts, or to tell himself that it was not time to harvest yet. On Wang Dan's side, a beautiful woman looked at Wang Dan, who was hiding in bed and shivering, and suddenly became furious. It's all that Zhao Fan's fault. As the word, Zhao Fan, came out, Wang Dan shook even harder under the quilt, and at the same time, Wang Dan's panicked voice came from inside. No, Don't mention him again. Okay, okay. Mom won't say anything anymore. To put it bluntly, the beautiful woman had to comfort her before letting Wang Dan get out of the bed. At this time, Wang Dan looked pale, listless, and looked very weak. He did not look like a bronze level B-level superpower user at all. The beautiful woman looked at Wang Dan like this, feeling distressed and angry. There was even more resentment towards Wang Tang in his heart. After leaving the room to let Wang Dan have a good rest, the beautiful woman closed the door to make sure Wang Dan couldn't hear her and started to curse. I really don't know what that heartless person was thinking. That little fool did this to my son and he still let it go. You don't even let me take care of it. Isn't it his son who co-authored Shaodan? The servant who was standing by at any time remained silent, like a wooden man. Seeing this, a stern look flashed in the beautiful woman's eyes. She knew that these people were Wang Tang's people and would not listen to her. But it doesn't matter. Wang Tang doesn't care if anyone will take care of it. After the beautiful woman cursed for a while, she quickly left and at the same time a message was sent through her mobile phone. At this time, Zhao Fan is here. In the exclusive training room of the Flame team. Zhao Fanzheng and Chen Annie stood in the middle of the field, while Yan Meng and the others stayed on one side and looked at the person coming from the field. I wonder how long Junior Zhao Fan can hold on in Anne's hands. Qin Xiaori looked curiously at the two people confronting each other on the field. As long as he can survive Annie's attack for 3 minutes, it will be fine. I just don't know if he can do it. Yan Meng said with a smile. On the court, Chen Annie shook her twin ponytails and said with a playful smile to Zhao Fan. Junior, are you ready? Zhao Fan glanced at Yan Meng and others who were standing aside. Hold on for 3 minutes. He was underestimated. However, it doesn't matter, it just so happens that Zhao Fan wants to test how strong he can be with his current physical fitness and martial arts grandmaster. Seeing Zhao Fan indicating that he was ready, the smile on Chen Annie's face became a little sicker. Junior, if you can't hold on, you have to shout. Then, I'm going to attack. As soon as Chen Annie finished speaking, Zhao Fan felt that the temperature around him suddenly started to get sultry. The next moment, a ball of red-orange flame quickly condensed in Chen Annie's hand, and then Chen Annie waved her hand towards Zhao Fan, and the ball of flame flew towards Zhao Fan quickly. Base. Zhao Fan tightened the spear in his hand, turned slightly to avoid the flying flames, sank slightly, and quickly moved towards Chen Annie. So fast. Everyone else was a little surprised to see the speed at which Zhao Fan Yujing changed. Chen Annie's eyes changed slightly, and she wanted to test Zhao Fan's strength. She did not dodge, but kept throwing flames to test Zhao Fan's reaction. Moreover, some flames could turn back again after flying past Zhao Fan, but Zhao Fan still dodged them. It was a good response. Yan Meng couldn't help but admired when he saw this. The battle has just begun, and Zhao Fan has already shown good speed and reaction ability. Although Chen Annie wasn't serious, looking at Zhao Fan's appearance, she probably didn't have much strength. Zhao Fan swung the spear in his hand and hit Chen Annie on the shoulder with a semicircle. However, Chen Annie's reaction made him frown. Chen Annie actually reached out and grabbed his spear. This caused Zhao Fan's original 3-point strength to be reduced by half again. Snap! Chen Annie's expression changed the moment she touched Zhao Fan's spear, and without hesitation, the fire rushed out from her hand, and the fire power exploded in an instant and bounced Zhao Fan's spear back. Chen Annie used her strength to quickly float toward the back. Every time she stepped on the ground, a streak of fire would appear. This scene made Zhao Fan look at the ground curiously. He didn't know what kind of material it was. It seemed to be very hard. Junior, do you really have the power of eye magic? Chen Annie glanced at the red gun marks on the palm of her hand. Even though she noticed something was wrong and quickly reacted, Zhao Fan's power still surprised her. Although Zhao Fan used a weapon, which was agreed before, there was naturally no problem, but the attack power displayed through the weapon can also explain the problem. I'm afraid Annie has found a very powerful junior student for us. Yan Meng looked at the field seriously and said with a smile. Qin Xiaori and Lang Jia both nodded, and they also saw the marks on Chen Annie's hands. It can be said that with the speed, strength, and reaction that Zhao Fan has shown so far, there is no silver-level strength. However, Yan Meng and the others did not stop. After all, the battle had just begun, and they also wanted to know where Zhao Fan's upper limit was. Senior, I'm joking. I am naturally a person with pupil powers. I just practice martial arts all the time, so I am naturally stronger. It makes sense, right? When Chen Annie retreated, Zhao Fan did not pursue the victory. He responded to Chen Annie's question with a smile, and then said with a smile on his arm. Senior, get ready, Junior is about to go. This time it was Zhao Fan who took the initiative to attack. After all, he was not always passive. Quickly approaching Chen Annie, the spear in his hand stabbed, and attacked Chen Annie continuously. Facing Zhao Fan's suddenly fierce offensive, Chen Annie did not panic. She moved the flame heart in her hand at will, constantly intercepting Zhao Fan's attacks. However, in the face of Zhao Fan's superb martial arts experience, the spear's attacks became faster and faster, and Chen Annie's energy became tense every time he retracted and released them. The angle of the attack also became extremely flexible as it was originally ordinary, which Chen Annie soon became unable to cope with. After a while, Chen Annie became sweating profusely because of her high concentration. Junior Zhao Fan's martial arts is indeed very powerful. Sisters, I have an idea. Yan Meng's eyes became brighter when she saw Chen Annie, who was in a hurry and suppressed by Zhao Fan's attack. Mengmeng, you mean? Qin Xiaori and Lang Jia immediately reacted when they heard Yan Meng's words. Then they saw Chen Annie gradually finding a rhythm under Zhao Fan's sharp spear attack, and at the same time she began to defend without leakage. Their eyes suddenly brightened up, and they looked at Zhao Fan with burning eyes, as if they were looking at diluted treasures. Being looked at by Yan Meng and others like this, Zhao Fan suddenly felt a little cold in his kidneys. He glanced at Yan Meng, and then looked at Chen Annie, who was gradually becoming familiar with this attack rhythm. The movements of Zhao Fan's hands suddenly accelerated. The dark golden spear suddenly flashed an afterimage, and quickly bit Chen Annie's throat like a lion majesty. Chen Annie, who was originally adapted to Zhao Fan's offensive, was caught off guard by this sudden change and watched as the tip of the spear got closer and closer. Chen Annie, who had no time to think about it, instinctively unleashed her fire power. A scorching flame rapidly expanded outward with Chen Annie as the center. Zhao Fan, who felt the heat, had no choice but to withdraw. The expanding flames were retracted again, revealing Chen Annie inside. At this time, the sweat on Chen Annie's head had also been evaporated, and her clothes were spotless. At this time, she was not angry because of Zhao Fan's change of tactics. Instead, she looked at Zhao Fan with a yandere smile on her face. Junior, I seem to be starting to like you. Hey, let me show you your pupil skills, senior sister. Chen Annie changed from a cute look to a ghostly look. This change made Yan Meng and Qin Xiaori hold their foreheads. Hey, that's bad, Annie is starting to get excited. Do you want to stop it? After all, the temperature of Annie's flame is not low, and I'm afraid my junior's spear won't last long. Yan Meng looked at Zhao Fan in the field. At this time, Zhao Fan still looked like he had never fought before, and the spear seemed weightless in his hand. Yan Meng and the others naturally recognized the Academy's spear weapons, as they had the words, tracing their origins, written on them. Although they didn't know the weight of this spear, judging from Zhao Fan's attack power just now, it should be heavy. Let's take a look, Annie should know it. After all, as she said, Zhao Fan has not shown his pupil power until now. Or, aren't you curious about the specific effects of his pupil technique? Yan Meng thought for a while and decided to continue reading. After all, the real battle is when Annie is in a serious state. Well, she still needs to prepare. Xiao Rui, if Zhao Fan is injured later, I will ask you to help him treat him. Qin Xiaori naturally would not refuse and nodded. In their opinion, under normal circumstances, Zhao Fan would definitely be injured under Annie's outburst. Zhao Fan looked at Chen Annie, who was now in a yandere state, and his eyes became a little strange. He didn't realize that Chen Annie actually had yandere attributes. Although the time had reached more than 10 minutes, Zhao Fan did not intend to end it just like that. Now he has a judgment about his melee combat ability, which is almost at the peak level of silver. Now it's time to serve the main course. If you want to spend some time with Chen Annie and others, your abilities will definitely be revealed. Rather than being secretive, it is better to be open and above board. Zhao Fan has considered hiding, but if he hides, what is the difference from not having these abilities? It would be bad if there is any misunderstanding because of this kind of thing. The most important thing is that Zhao Fan now has the confidence that he has the ability to protect himself in any danger. Zhao Fan gently placed the spear on the weapon rack aside. Zhao Fan, who was not holding a weapon, looked like a gentle gentleman at this time. With his handsome face, dark eyes, and an extra smile at the corner of his mouth, he showed his elegance. Zhao Fan put his right hand on his chest and his left hand behind his back, and bowed to Chen Annie. Then he raised his head, revealing the 3 Magatama Sharingan, looked at Chen Annie and smiled. I'm willing to show it to you, senior sister Annie. Looking at Zhao Fan like this, Yan Meng and others couldn't help but feel their hearts tremble, and the word elegance unconsciously appeared in their minds. Zhao Fan's strange movements should be a kind of traditional etiquette. Yan Meng remembered that there was a description of this etiquette in a historical record. It not only reflects politeness and etiquette, but also means modesty and respect. This made Yan Meng and others look at Zhao Fan with a softer look. However, after noticing the pattern in Zhao Fan's eyes, Yan Meng and the others couldn't help but feel a little depressed. It might be a woman's sixth sense. They felt that it would be dangerous to face Zhao Fan's eyes, and this feeling even frightened them. Mengmeng, then, Zhao Fan's eyes, why do I feel cold on my back when I look at them? That should be Zhao Fan's pupil technique, but I didn't expect that his pupil technique would have such obvious characteristics. Yan Meng took a few deep breaths to calm down the panic she felt when she first met Zhao Fan Sharingan. After calming down for a while, she no longer felt the same as before when she looked into Zhao Fan's eyes again. This made Yan Meng and others breathe a sigh of relief. Then they were all stunned. They didn't expect that Zhao Fan would make them feel in danger just by this point. I'm afraid we all underestimate Junior Zhao Fan. Yan Meng sighed, Qin Shaori and Leng Jia nodded in agreement. When Chen Annie saw Zhao Fan in this state, her reaction was different from that of Yan Meng and others. The light in her eyes was even brighter and the smile on her face was brighter. Ah, Junior, feel the passion of Senior. Balls of yellow-white flames appeared around Chen Annie, and then flew towards Zhao Fan at an even faster speed. Faced with the attack of several flames, Zhao Fan Sharingan moved slightly, his body moved around, and Zhao Fan completely dodged the several flames. And Zhao Fan once again narrowed the distance between him and Chen Annie. Seeing that this attack was useless, Chen Annie smiled delicately. He waved his hands together in front of his chest, and opened his fingers to face Zhao Fan. Yellow-white flames appeared quickly, swirling towards Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan looked at the oncoming flames. Just when the flames were about to reach Zhao Fan, his figure disappeared. The next moment, Zhao Fan appeared behind Chen Annie, put his right hand gently on Chen Annie's shoulder, and put his head next to Chen Annie's face. Senior, where are you fighting? When Chen Annie's pupils shrank suddenly, and the yandere smile on her face became a little stiff. Quickly turning her head to look at Zhao Fan who was so close and his hand on her shoulder, a drop of cold sweat flowed down her forehead. She knew that if Zhao Fan was an enemy, the consequences would be self-evident. Seeing Zhao Fan's face so close, Chen Annie's somewhat stiff body relaxed and asked Zhao Fan. Junior, can your pupil technique increase your speed? Zhao Fan tilted his head in discomfort and quickly straightened up. Chen Annie didn't even notice how close they were just now, and turned her head to speak. I almost kissed him. Well, that's right. Zhao Fan nodded, it was just a teleportation technique. As a martial arts grandmaster, his teleportation technique was more concise and faster. You must know that Itachi can keep up with Naruto's fighting speed when Ninetales chakra mode is turned on. Noticing Zhao Fan's little movements, a flash of shame flashed across Chen Annie's face. She must have known that Zhao Fan had spoken in her ear just now, and his warm breath hit her ear directly. She just, well, fought back. Senior, will you continue? Zhao Fan had no idea that a girl would have so many thoughts in such a short period of time. Then he looked at Chen Annie and asked. No, go on. Chen Annie didn't pay attention and was distracted. Fortunately, Zhao Fan's voice pulled her back. After hearing Zhao Fan's question, she also knew that she had lost the situation just now and was about to say not to continue. As a result, she saw Yan Meng and others talking to her and continuing. After a while of gestures, Chen Annie quickly changed her words. Zhao Fan was speechless. Although his back was turned to Yan Meng and the others, Chen Annie was looking at them. With his Sharingan insight, he could completely see Yan Meng and the others reflected in Chen Annie's pupils. So all their little moves were seen by Zhao Fan. But the impact is not big. Zhao Fan nodded and motioned for Chen Annie to continue. Seeing that Zhao Fan was not disgusted, Chen Annie, who was a little embarrassed, stuck out her tongue and glared at Yan Meng and others. Then he looked at Zhao Fan and said seriously, "Junior, come on, I'm ready." With the reveal of Zhao Fan's strength, he has been recognized by Chen Annie and Yan Meng. They saw the scene just now very clearly. It can be said that without preparation, none of them could react to Zhao Fan's speed. After all, strength is the best social tool. Okay, senior, be careful. As soon as Zhao Fan's voice fell, Zhao Fan could no longer be seen on the field. Chen Annie couldn't help but tremble in her heart. She turned around quickly and a ball of flames was thrown out. No, seeing that the flames were smashing into the air and not attacking anyone, Chen Annie looked around vigilantly but still found no trace of Zhao Fan. Then he suddenly realized something, and then looked in the direction of Yan Meng and others. No one. It seemed that she was the only one left in the huge training room after Zhao Fan's words, and everyone just disappeared. Chen Annie felt goosebumps quickly spread all over her body. The room felt empty, and she was the only one left inexplicably. Fortunately, Chen Annie still had experience. After a brief panic, she realized that this was an illusion. She condensed a ball of flame and hit the ground. With a bang, the flames spread out and traces of burning appeared on the ground. Chen Annie's eyes dilated slightly. This illusion was different from the ones she had encountered before. It could actually change because of her behavior. Now she has realized that this is Zhao Fan's illusion. After communicating with Zhao Fan, they found out the information about Zhao Fan's original secret realm for newcomers in No. 1 middle school. They knew that Zhao Fan defeated a Class B classmate with a special ability through pupil magic. It was said that it was through hallucination. This is also the reason why Yan Meng and others just asked her to continue fighting. I just wanted to see how Zhao Fan's hallucination was. This is not an illusion, it's all an illusion, Chen Annie said with some amazement. She kept burning the flames and destroyed the practice room, but she still stayed in this empty place. There was nothing but her own voice. She couldn't leave this illusion even though she tried many methods. Chen Annie suppressed the fear in her heart, pouted and shouted dissatisfied. "Junior Zhao Fan, I surrender, let me out quickly." "Okay, senior." Zhao Fan's voice rang out, and Chen Annie felt that it was the most beautiful voice she had ever heard. When she came back to her senses, Chen Annie found that Zhao Fan was still standing where he was, and his original scarlet eyes had returned to black ones. She quickly looked in the direction of Yan Meng and the others. She saw them looking at her with some surprise and blankness. From their perspective, Zhao Fan did not move after saying this sentence, and Chen Annie also became motionless after this sentence. They immediately thought of the description in Zhao Fan's message. Then they looked at Chen Annie with some worry. Since they recognized Zhao Fan and they were all here, they believed that Zhao Fan would not hurt Annie. So they didn't stop it. After all, the hallucination-type pupil ability is still their teammate, so they naturally need to understand it as soon as possible. Otherwise they would have been sold long ago. Seeing Yan Meng and the others, Chen Annie immediately ran over and hugged Qin Xiaori with tears in her eyes. This made Zhao Fan couldn't help but touch his nose, and then he didn't say much. After all, this is what Yan Meng and the others want to know. Zhao Fan would not refuse, he could understand, and it would not delay his affairs. As for what Yan Meng and others would think of him, he didn't care. As long as I can get out of the city, I can talk about anything. Sister Xiaori, you scared me to death. After Yan Meng and others comforted Chen Annie, they also learned what Chen Annie had just seen in the illusion. Then Yan Meng said to Zhao Fan apologetically, "Anne is claustrophobic, that's why she reacted so strongly." Yan Meng was also a little helpless. She did not expect that the illusion created by Zhao Fan would actually cause Chen Annie discomfort. Fortunately, Zhao Fan did not trap Anne for too long. After hearing this, Zhao Fan couldn't help but glance at Chen Annie, who was still being hugged and coaxed by Qin Xiaori, nodded in understanding, and then asked Yan Meng. So senior sister, I should be qualified, right? Of course, we are all surprised by the strength shown by the junior. You must know that even the superpowers who have just entered the silver level can't last 3 minutes in Anne's hands. Yan Meng said this. Now that Zhao Fan's strength is recognized, it's time to talk about tomorrow's mission. Several people came out of the practice room and came to the place where their team often held meetings. Junior, the mission requirement is to explore the eastern area of silver-level monsters. According to the Academy's sacred artifact detection, special energy fluctuations have appeared there. It may be the entrance to a new secret realm, and collect valuable things such as spiritual herbs nearby. Yan Meng looked at Zhao Fan and continued. Because of this, when Annie saw that you had the power of eye magic, she thought of pulling you into our team. After all, pupil powers generally have better detection capabilities and are more efficient than other powers. After hearing Yan Meng's words, Zhao Fan glanced at Chen Annie who was standing aside. Chen Annie, who had calmed down at this time, also stared at Zhao Fan fiercely, obviously because she was frightened by Zhao Fan and she held a grudge. However, Zhao Fan didn't feel any malice from her, maybe it was the girl's temper. The points for such an exploration mission shouldn't be high, right? Zhao Fan asked. Well, the points awarded by the Academy for such exploratory tasks are indeed not high. Yan Meng did not deny it, but then added. But at the same time, we also have more time. The mission lasts for 1 month. Compared with other missions of hunting monsters or collecting elixirs and treasures, it is much longer than a few days and a week. And you can also check some tasks, get what you need for the tasks, and then come back and pick up the tasks to get points. Zhao Fan touched his nose. If you put it this way, this kind of exploration mission is very suitable for him. With plenty of time, he can get as many energy points as possible. With his Sharingan, there is no problem in exploring or anything. However, Yan Meng mentioned something just now that caught Zhao Fan's attention. Senior sister, you just mentioned the Academy's sacred weapon. What is that? Yan Meng glanced at Zhao Fan curiously, and Chen Annie, Qin Shaori and Leng Jia looked at Zhao Fan strangely. Zhao Fan was stunned for a moment. What did this mean? What questions did he ask that he shouldn't have asked? Seeing that Zhao Fan really didn't seem to know, Yan Meng still spoke. In Sushan Academy, the sacred instrument is a large mirror. If there are any special fluctuations within 100 miles or if it reaches gold or above, the energy fluctuations will be detected. Not only can you monitor whether there are gold-level monsters nearby at any time, but you can also detect the fluctuations in the opening of the secret realm. It is also because of the existence of this sacred artifact that all gold-level superpowers in the city are registered. In order to prevent other people with evil intentions from appearing, the security of the border can be ensured. Quote. Yan Meng paused slightly and then continued. Actually, the sacred artifact also has a special function, and this function is the reason why many people join the Theological Academy. After hearing this, Zhao Fan became concentrated and listened carefully. Holy weapons can allow people with superpowers to see the origin of their superpowers. While Yan Meng was speaking, he was still observing the reaction on Zhao Fan's face. See the origin of the superpower and be able to optimize it once. Optimization of superpower origin. Zhao Fan's eyes narrowed. Is this what he meant? Yan Meng seemed to know what Zhao Fan was thinking, nodded and said seriously. Yeah, to put it simply, you can increase the power level once. But, however, Zhao Fan, who had still had some hope, immediately lost his mind. I am afraid that either there is an upper limit or it consumes a lot of money. Sure enough, Yan Meng's next words proved what Zhao Fan thought. But it's only limited to those with S-level powers and below, and you can only get such an opportunity by finishing in the top 3 in the academy competition. I knew it. Zhao Fan couldn't help but rolled his eyes. This is just one of the ways, which is suitable for combat abilities. Another way is to use academy points. Not paying attention to Zhao Fan's expression, Chen Annie covered her mouth and snickered when she saw Zhao Fan rolling his eyes. Zhao Fan, do you really not know this? Then why did you choose Sushan Academy? Seeing Zhao Fanjun acting as if he had heard this information for the first time, Yan Meng still couldn't hold back the questions in his heart. Zhao Fan was stunned after hearing this. Does everyone know this? Then when he thought of Principal Zhao Li and the others, Zhao Fan simply stopped thinking about it. If there is benefit, take it first. If you are able, return the favor. If you are not able, then owe it first. Seeing that Zhao Fan just shook his head, Yan Meng did not go into details, and then told Zhao Fan the arrangements for gathering and setting off tomorrow morning. And a ring. Zhao Fan looked at the ring in Yan Meng's hand curiously and looked at Yan Meng with questions. This is a special equipment that every team member can receive, a storage ring. There is only 3 cubic meters of space inside. Although the space is not large, some special and precious things can be placed inside. It is very suitable for teams that go out to do missions in the city. Moreover, our mission requires that if conditions permit, after discovering the secret place, you can explore it yourself and reap the rewards. Storage ring. Zhao Fan took the ring from Yan Meng's hand and moved towards the ring with his mental strength. Suddenly, a 3 cubic meter space appeared in the induction. Bullshit. Zhao Fan didn't expect that Sushan Academy even had such a ring, and every team could get it. Zhao Fan didn't believe that there was a forging master there. After everything was understood, Yan Meng took Chen Annie and the others back to their dormitory. Zhao Fan lost interest after playing with the storage ring for a while. If there was something like Obito's eyes in a storage ring, tisk. Zhao Fan couldn't help but smack his mouth, and then looked at his pitiful 5-digit energy points. I don't know how many energy points are needed to load Sharingan next time. If I can choose Obito, not many people will be able to keep me. Zhao Fan put his hands behind his head and lay on his bed, thinking about how to maximize his energy points. Time is like reading a novel, it will be gone if you don't pay attention. Early that morning, Zhao Fan felt refreshed again and left the dormitory under the resentful looks of Yi Xingchen and others. Just because they still have to go to class, but Zhao Fan goes out to play with a group of beauties. After a quick and simple breakfast, Zhao Fan made a special trip to the college's melee weapons depot before arriving at the entrance of the college. As a result, Yan Meng and the others were not seen, which made Zhao Fan look at the time with some uncertainty. It's 7:30, that's right. It's time to gather. Is it really instinctive for girls to be late? Zhao Fan thought it would be a little different in a different world. After waiting for a while, Yan Meng and others rushed over. I'm sorry, Junior, for keeping you waiting, Yan Meng said to Zhao Fan apologetically. They could have set off on time, because this mission was an exploration mission and they needed to stay outside for a long time, so they applied for some necessary supplies. It was originally supposed to be available early in the morning, but due to some reasons it was not ready in time. That's why it's a little late. Then Zhao Fan and others left the academy directly and took a special car to go out of the city and drove towards the east gate. After arriving at the city gate, after confirming their identity, tracing the mission of the seminary, and proving the evidence from the silver team, Zhao Fan and the others successfully left the city. As soon as we arrived outside the city, the smell of a wild forest hit us, and several trodden roads led deep into the jungle. Zhao Fan followed Yan Meng and others, heading east. Junior, are you nervous? As the group of people moved forward, Chen Annie couldn't help but care about Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan shook his head. Are you kidding? He is so excited, okay. Looking at Zhao Fan's slightly excited expression, Chen Annie continued. Junior, don't be careless. After all, here, most of them are silver-level monsters, and there are also monsters that live in groups. It's better to be careful. Zhao Fan tightened the spear in his hand and nodded to accept Chen Annie's concern. However, he had already decided in his heart that he would not let any monster go. While his mind was spinning, Zhao Fan silently followed the team and continued to move forward. Because we had just left the city, the distance was still relatively close. The monsters that appeared nearby had been cleared many times, so it was basically difficult to encounter monsters on the current journey. However, the progress of these people was not slow. After all, they were also silver-level superpowers. After about half an hour, Zhao Fan saw that the surrounding trees became thicker. On the ground, you can vaguely see the bite marks of many monster beasts starting to appear. But most of them were covered with dead leaves, and it was obvious that some time had passed. Zhao Fan could feel that the energy in the air in the demon forest was gradually getting richer. It has reached the level of being in the seminary. This just shows that when you get here, you may encounter monsters, and it is an exploration area. Yan Meng and the girls also became cautious, and Leng Jia took the lead and walked at the front of the team. Junior Zhao Fan, we only know the general direction based on the prompts given in the mission, and we will need you next. At this time, Yan Meng said to Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan didn't hesitate. Sharingan also appeared, he couldn't wait any longer. The figure flashed and quickly came to the top of a nearby tree. After observing it from a high place, it came down and pointed in the same direction to Yan Meng and others. I saw a stronger energy reaction in that direction. I don't know if it was a monster or something. Yan Meng nodded, and then the others moved that way. After advancing for a while, Zhao Fan suddenly moved. Whoosh! Zhao Fan's spear suddenly shot out and sank directly into the woods nearby. Then there was a roar and struggle of a monster from inside. The sound was probably 100 meters away from here. Then Zhao Fan's figure quickly approached. Yan Meng and others were directly confused by Zhao Fan's sudden action, but they reacted quickly and were about to move towards Zhao Fan. Zhao Fan had come back with a monster corpse on his spear. They looked at each other in surprise. Okay, junior fellow student, you didn't even say anything about the monster when you discovered it. Chen Annie was the first to speak and complained to Zhao Fan. Yan Meng, on the other hand, looked at the appearance of the monster on Zhao Fan's spear and breathed a sigh of relief when he found that it was not a gregarious monster. Looking at the wounds on the monster's body, it was obvious that it was killed by a spear directly piercing its cervical spine. Yan Meng said to Zhao Fan, Junior, if you find another monster, please inform us first before taking action. This monster is not worth much. Take out the monster's crystal core and leave here as soon as possible. The smell of blood will attract other monsters. Zhao Fan was noncommittal, but he was still very happy. A silver monster directly increased his energy by 500 points. This is the first time he has entered silver. After killing Lao San and the others together to get energy points, I am afraid even the silver level monsters can bring him a lot of energy points. Zhao Fan only felt that he was about to lose his temper. Demonic beast crystal nuclei are ability crystal nuclei that are naturally formed in the brains of demonic beasts after they arrive at silver. This is also the raw material for producing crystals on the market. However, when Zhao Fan wanted to take out the crystal core, he found that the place where the monster crystal core should have been was empty. Zhao Fan's eyes narrowed and he calmly dealt with the monster. It seems that the energy points obtained by the system are directly absorbed by the monster crystal core. If you put it this way. After glancing at Yan Meng and the others who were continuing to move forward, Sharingan moved slightly, then started to follow. Just when Zhao Fan and others were gradually going deep into the demon forest. At the entrance of the East City, another group of people came out. There were 10 people in total, 2 teams, but 9 of them were always following one another, so it was obvious that they were together. Brother Wang, they have already set off, not long ago. The leader among the 10 people was Wang Jianshou. At this time, his eyes were cold as he looked in the direction of the demon forest. Wang Jianshou's eyes moved when he heard the words of the people around him. Even if you leave the city, nothing will change. He had been sending people to monitor the actions of Yan Meng and others. He knew exactly what Yan Meng was going to do today and what supplies he had prepared. And he just paid a few points. Although the college has formulated rules, after all, people still need to enforce them. This gives him room to maneuver. Hurry up. Don't forget what our main mission is. If we can find them, find an opportunity to kill that Zhao Fan boy. Wang Jianshou was furious when he thought about the scene where Zhao Fan actually scolded him, but he didn't come out this time just for Zhao Fan, Yan Meng and the others. Brother said that there is a spiritual fruit plant in the eastern region. It had just bloomed when he saw it. According to calculations, it is time to bear fruit now. A spiritual fruit that can help upgrade the silver level to gold. Wang Jianshou thought about the information his elder brother had told him before, and his heart became even hotter. He's been at Silver Peak for too long. Then Wang Jianshou did not hesitate and waved his hand directly. Set off. Just as Wang Jianshou and others left, 5 more people appeared in the same place. These 5 people were all wrapped up in clothes, and there was a special bulging feeling in some places on their bodies, as if there was something inside. Obviously, they did not come out of the city. With such makeup, they would definitely be arrested by the city guard. The mission target has entered the demon forest and can be captured. The leader spoke, but his voice sounded very strange. The 4 people behind him were still standing quietly, without any reaction. First, follow secretly and look for opportunities. If you find yourself alone, you can choose to take action. Follow up. As soon as he finished speaking, the voices of the 5 people had disappeared. At the same time, Zhao Fan excitedly pulled out the spear from the neck of a fast hyena. I looked at the neat family of hyenas on the ground and listened to the system prompts about the energy points that had arrived, and I was very satisfied. Sure enough, it's more comfortable to be alone. At this time, Zhao Fan was actually alone in the demon forest, and in front of him was a pile of corpses of demon beasts. Zhao Fan casually picked out a slightly silvery monster crystal core and nodded. As long as you choose not to absorb energy, the monster crystal core will not disappear. It seems that there are many silver-level monsters around here. We have to go deeper. Then Zhao Fan looked to the left. Fortunately, the crow clone can now be used only with enough mental power. Not only does it consume a small amount of money, but it can also inherit the existing abilities. It turned out that Zhao Fan used the crow clone to leave the team while Yan Meng and others were not paying attention. Crow clone is Itachi's most commonly used clone technique. Using crow as a medium, it is far more practical than shadow clone. Now with Yan Meng and others as Zhao Fan's crow clone. Of course, the crow clone can only move within 3 kilometers of the main body. This is enough for Zhao Fan. Now Zhao Fan is moving about 2 kilometers to the right of Yan Meng's team. Zhao Fan used a spear to stab one of the monsters with several bloody holes, and the bloody smell suddenly became rich. He just picked it up with a spear and walked swaggeringly into the demon forest. This is how he attracts the monsters around him. Rustling. There seemed to be many sounds of monster activity in the woods. Such changes made Yan Meng and others even more nervous. At the same time, they kept paying attention to Zhao Fan. They were afraid of missing the hint Zhao Fan gave them. After discovering that Zhao Fan's investigative ability was not weak, Lang Jia and Zhao Fan were responsible for the investigation around the team. Of course, they don't know now that it's only Zhao Fan's crow clone who has been driving the Sharingan to investigate. However, the clone Zhao Fan also has a certain understanding of the abilities of other people in the team. The reason why Lang Jia can be responsible for the investigation is because she has the A-level thick soil ability. As long as she stands on the ground, she can sense the movement within a radius of 100 meters. Although the range is not small, some silver monsters are very fast. They can rush in front of them in a few seconds at a distance of 100 meters. So they had to be very cautious when doing tasks in the past. And always be on alert and defensive. Captain Yan Meng, her ability surprised even Zhao Fan's clone. She summoned the Wrath of Nature and Thorns and Vines at level A. The thorns and vines are like living creatures, and they have a special aura on them. When encountering a lone monster, it was Yan Meng who strangled the monster alive with vines. This made crow clone Zhao Fan couldn't help but click his tongue. He didn't expect Yan Meng to have such a side. And Qin Shaori's superpowers complement Yan Meng's A-level light power. Through the blessing of Qin Shaori's superpower, Yan Meng's competitive vines became stronger and their strength increased directly. It can also provide certain bonuses to heal and improve teammates. As for Chen Annie, I won't say much more. Therefore, the superpowers of Yan Meng and others made crow clone Zhao Fan's eyes shine. All members have A-level abilities and can cooperate with each other. Is this the team from Sushan Academy? Crow clone Zhao Fan thought so in his heart. Just looking at the actions and fighting positions of Yan Meng and others, we can see that Sushan Academy cultivates every silver team. Maybe this is the point of these people going to school. With this in mind, crow clone Zhao Fan still led the way responsibly, heading towards the place where the energy response was present. As for him knowing this information, it will naturally be known to the main body when the clone is released. There were no dangers along the way, and after dealing with some blind monsters, Yan Meng and the others did not encounter any difficult monsters. It's really strange. Where have all the monsters around here gone? When he came here, Yan Meng's beautiful eyebrows frowned, and he said a little doubtfully. Others were also puzzled. Because Chen Annie has fire power, she has not taken action until now. After all, Yan Meng will not let her take action unless necessary. There are too many dead leaves in this area of the demon forest, which can easily cause fires. Qin Shaori tried his best to maintain sufficient mental strength even when there was no special battle. Lang Jia also stood aside thoughtfully, because Zhao Fan's joining greatly eased her consumption. It was not their first time entering the demon forest, so they naturally knew that under normal circumstances, the number of demonic beasts was quite large. Even though this is only the outermost part of the demon forest, the reproductive ability of demon beasts is too strong. Even if it is cleaned up on the same day, new demon beasts will be added in 2 days. On the route we took, we saw many traces of monster activity, and they were left in a very short period of time. Everywhere I look is towards the right. Is there something there that attracts these monsters? Yan Meng looked at the place they passed by, filled with doubts. Oh, why are you thinking so much? It would be better if I didn't meet you. Chen Annie interrupted Yan Meng's thinking, causing her to look at Chen Annie accusingly. But it could only be like this. Yan Meng became more vigilant. As the captain, she naturally had to be responsible for her teammates for such unclear changes. The crow clone Zhao Fan's mouth curled up slightly, thinking that he would gain a lot from the main body. What's going on? There are basically no traces of fighting on the road. Did you lose it? It was one of the 10 people named Wang Jianshou who spoke. However, there were only 4 people around him. Wang Jianshou no longer knew where he had gone. It seemed that they had separated. I don't know. Judging from the traces, it should be correct. After all, we also accepted that mission. How did they move forward so fast? Didn't they encounter many monsters? Who knows? Hey, tell me, why does Mr. Wang keep targeting Team Leon? One of them suddenly asked. Maybe that's the one. One of them suddenly became excited. When the 5 people said this, the expressions on their faces began to become obscene. The Flame team is a famous beauty team in their academy. It can be said that they are cute, cool, and elegant. All 4 of them are beauties. Hey, suck, if you say this, I'll be in high spirits. Shashasha. Speaking of which, Yan Meng's figure. Tisk. If I could hold her and sleep with her, I would be willing to shorten my life by 10 years. Shashasha. I like that Qin Shaori, that quiet look I really want to have. The 5 people chatted excitedly, and their previous boredom disappeared. Swish, swish, swish. Hey, is there any movement? One of them finally felt something was wrong, and then quickly looked behind him. There's something behind you. As soon as he turned his head, he saw several pairs of green eyes in the woods, which were already very close to them. However, what he discovered was too late. Several black figures rushed out, followed by several muffled sounds. Flop. Asterisk 5. The 5 people who were chatting happily just now were lying on the ground unconscious. Silver Peak. What a rubbish. The owner of the green eyes appeared, his whole body wrapped in clothes. He was the same person who appeared behind Wang Jianshou before. But their only exposed eyes are different from human eyes. They are yellow and have a hint of madness. The 5 people lowered their heads and frowned at the unconscious 5 people, as if looking at prey. After a brief silence, one of them suddenly looked up at the leader. Head, can you? As he spoke, you could clearly hear him swallowing, and there was a bloodthirsty light in his eyes. As this man spoke, the other 3 people also made the sound of swallowing saliva. After some thought, the leader shook his head and said, "Don't be troublesome, you stay, don't kill them, contact the organization to come and take them away." Although the talent is not A-level, it can still be considered a good material. Let's go. After saying that, 4 of them left here, and after watching them leave, the remaining person also took out a special device and pressed it. Then they waited quietly, with greedy eyes on the unconscious 5 people. Gulu. After waiting for a while, the man's breathing gradually became thicker, and a flash of madness flashed in his eyes. He suddenly walked next to one of the people. He pulled down the cloth covering his face, revealing a face full of fangs, some protrusions, and gray hair, like a wild beast's face. Combined with the yellow eyes, it looks very similar to a wolf. This is a half-demon. Looking at the defenseless prey in front of him, the half-demon kept flashing in his mind, take a bite. Just take a bite. Tick-tock. A drop of saliva flowed from his mouth. He finally moved, grabbed the man's arm on the ground, tore it off, and bit it. Phew. Ah. The severe pain in his arm suddenly woke the man up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a man who looked like a monster chewing on his arm. Before he could call out the second time, the yellow eyes looked over, and the crazy and bloodthirsty eyes made the man feel cold. Then his vision went dark and he fainted again. The four people who continued to set off suddenly stopped not long after they moved forward. Sniff, sniff. Their noses kept sniffing. Fresh bloody smell. The yellow eyes suddenly lit up, and the four of them turned their heads to look in the direction where the bloody smell was coming from. They didn't speak, but started moving forward again in unison. But this time, they changed their previous direction. If you can look down from a high place, you can see that the original direction of the four people is in front of Yan Meng and the others. But now, they rushed towards Zhao Fan. What attracted them was naturally the smell of blood from the corpse of the monster that Zhao Fan had been carrying on his spear. Ha! It smells so good. As Yan Meng and others moved forward, they gradually smelled a special fresh fragrance. For a moment, Yan Meng and others quickly became vigilant. At the same time, they took out the antidote potions in their hands and were ready at any time. After waiting for a while, they found that the fragrance did not cause them any physical discomfort. It seems that the smell is not poisonous. In that case, there should be something like a spiritual plant in front of it. Yan Meng speculated. I don't know what kind of spiritual plant it is, but the smell alone makes my mental power start to fluctuate. Everyone, be careful. Special spiritual plants are usually guarded by monsters, ready to fight at any time. The few people who had done nothing along the way began to get excited at this time. So far, they can say that they have gained very little from the monsters during this mission. Therefore, they have always been a little depressed. Everyone started to get excited to try, and Zhao Fanya's clone looked at this scene in a funny way. After advancing a few hundred meters again, the fragrance in the air became stronger and stronger. Yan Meng only felt that her mental energy was beating, and she was even more surprised. At the same time, he had a rough judgment on the spiritual plants ahead. This is a spiritual plant that can still have a great effect on peak silver. Qin Shaori and the others also thought of this idea. They looked at each other and then looked at Zhao Fan's clone with some luck. After all, Zhao Fan discovered the energy reaction here, so they could go straight here. Passing through the bushes in front of us again, our view suddenly broadened. There were originally just some uneven woods, but here the terrain suddenly sank, like two wooden boards, one higher and one lower, forming a stone cliff. Under the stone cliff, the woods are even denser. Looking around, you can see a small stream on the left, leading directly into it. Using the height difference of the terrain, Yan Meng and others could clearly see that there was an open space among the trees in the distance, and there was only a solitary tree in the open space, and the fruits on the tree glowed with a pale golden light. That's right. Yan Meng and others' eyes widened slightly. After seeing the fruit, a name emerged in their hearts. However, they couldn't believe it. Sister Mengmong, am I right? Chen Annie also widened her eyes and looked hard towards Guozi. Then he asked Yan Meng in disbelief. Yan Meng took a deep breath and said affirmatively. We read that right. That's the spiritual gold fruit. The spiritual fruit that can make the peak of silver break through to gold. Hiss. Chen Annie and the other girls were even more excited. You must know that they have been at the peak of silver for too long. This was Yan Meng's confusion when he noticed Zhao Fan's clone. I also thought that Zhao Fan was just a freshman, so he probably didn't know all this knowledge yet. So he explained to Zhao Fan. Junior, you may not know that rising from silver level to gold level is not that simple. To change from bronze to silver, you only need your mental power to reach the standard, but from silver to gold, you need your mental power to change qualitatively. Qualitative change. Zhao Fan cloned himself and searched through the memories of Lao San and Lao Si. It turned out that after reaching the gold level, mental power can be released from the body. In addition to supernatural powers, one can also directly use mental power to temporarily float in the air. Yes, qualitative change. Monster beasts will generate monster crystal cores when they reach the silver level. People with supernatural powers will form their own power cores in their minds when they reach the gold level. At this time, gold level superpower users have complete control over their own superpowers, and the effects they cause will be greatly improved. In terms of the power it can cause, a silver level superpower can cause damage to a house. A gold-level superpower can destroy a house with one strike. Quote. Similarly, because it is necessary to form a core of superpowers, the first condition for upgrading to the gold level is to have complete control of one's own superpowers. A superpower user who does not even understand his own superpowers can reach the highest level of Silver Peak. The second condition is physical strength. The body of a superpower will automatically evolve every time it reaches a new level. But for the gold level, it is not enough. The same is true for the strengthening abilities that affect the body. Quote. When the superpower core is formed, all superpower energy will be absorbed. In other words, superpower users cannot use superpowers at this time. At the same time, the high-strength superpower core will put a strong burden on the body. If the body strength is not enough, it may be injured in mild cases or comatose in severe cases. It can be said that most of the Silver Peaks are stuck on this condition. After all, there are not many spiritual objects and fruits that can improve physical strength. They can only train themselves through accumulation over time. Listening to Yan Meng's explanation, Zhao Fan's clone nodded seriously. Compared with the information in the memory of the third and fourth children, what Yan Meng said was more detailed. At this time, Yan Meng took a deep look at Zhao Fan's pair of Sharingan, and then said, "The third condition is the purity of mental power. I think my junior should have a deep understanding of this. With the E-level pupil technique, the mental power that has just entered the silver level can directly affect Annie at the peak of silver level. The purity of my junior's mental power is at least no less than that of Anne's. Similarly, only high-purity mental power can gather all the superpower energy. Otherwise, it will be half the result with twice the result, and either the mental power will be exhausted or you will be unconscious." Yan Meng looked at Zhao Fan with a little gratitude in her eyes. Although these three conditions can be achieved by everyone in the end, the time it takes depends entirely on each individual. The Lingjin fruit can be said to be the fastest and safest choice to rise from the silver peak to the gold level. Lingjin fruit can not only cleanse muscles and cut marrow, enhance physical strength, but also purify mental power. More importantly, it can greatly alleviate the burden on oneself when forming the superpower core. Yan Meng and the girls looked at Zhao Fan with a little light in their eyes. Although it is said that anyone who can see energy reactions can do what Zhao Fan did. But they knew that if it weren't for Zhao Fan, they would still be short of people and would not be able to leave the academy at all. After arriving in Baiyan, the academy did not interfere with the grievances between students, as long as no one died. Therefore, in their eyes, meeting Zhao Fan is the luckiest thing for them. What's more, the Lingjin fruit not far away is something that can only be encountered but not sought. Although there are spiritual gold fruits in the college mall, the quantity is too small. And there are too many students at the Silver Peak, and there is simply not enough. Therefore, as long as the Lingjin fruit appears in the mall, it will be sold out immediately. A few of us haven't grabbed it for 2 consecutive years. Speaking of this, Yan Meng smiled bitterly. Zhao Fan's clone listened quietly. He could still understand Yan Meng and the others. Then what are you waiting for? Just go there, Zhao Fan's clone said with a gentle smile. Yan Meng and others were also shocked. Yan Meng took a step forward and slapped the stone cliff directly. Then several thorn vines spread from top to bottom. After Yan Meng's control, the vines without spikes were like ropes, forming a rope ladder. And the roots are firmly fixed in the earth above the stone cliff. How convenient. Seeing this Zhao Fan clone, he still praised him. From this, it can be seen that Yan Meng has strong control over his own powers. Then Yan Meng and others descended the stone cliff along the rope ladder. Zhao Fan's clone walked down the cliff step by step more directly. This behavior of ignoring the weight of gravity shocked Yan Meng and others. Ah, am I hallucinating? No, Junior, how can you walk on it? At this time, Yan Meng and the other girls were looking straight at Zhao Fan's clone who was walking down. The look in their eyes was as if they wanted to squeeze Zhao Fan dry. Zhao Fan's clone spread his hands with an innocent look on his face, with the ability of the pupil technique, except that I can't fly, I can walk on any terrain like ground. After all, the skill of mental control cannot be explained, and it is an operation that cannot be copied by Yan Meng and others. Zhao Fan's clone simply said it was the effect of the pupil technique. As for why you have to walk down, isn't this nonsense? It's obviously easier and more direct to walk down, so why climb the rope ladder? Zhao Fan's clone can choose to fly down directly in a ball of crows, but there is no need to expose such abilities. After hearing Zhao Fan's words, Yan Meng and the other girls suddenly lost their emotions. After all, they knew very well that Zhao Fan's ability to ignore the terrain could be said to be very advantageous in combat. However, they did not delve into it further. After all, the relationship with Zhao Fan was not yet familiar to that extent. It's okay to ask tentatively, but it's inappropriate to ask more. This time Lang Jia walked in front. Knowing that they would get the Lingjin fruit soon, her joy was beyond words. However, just after the few people took a few steps, Lang Jia stopped, and Zhao Fan's clone also spoke at this time. Senior sisters, let me ask you a question, are you afraid of snakes? Snake. The expression on Lang Jia's pretty face didn't change much, but her brows furrowed. Qin Xiaori and Chen Annie seemed to have a bad impression of snakes. The two of them got together unconsciously. They knew very well that since Zhao Fan asked this, there must be a snake ahead. Yan Meng didn't have much reaction at this time, maybe because vines and snakes are similar. But what Lang Jia said next made them unable to hold back. In my perception, there are many snakes in the woods ahead. Lang Jia's tone paused slightly, as if she didn't feel it was expressed clearly, and then she accentuated her tone and said one more sentence. Yeah, a lot. Now even Yan Meng couldn't imagine what the picture of many snakes looked like. Qin Xiaori and Chen Annie's faces were beginning to turn a little pale at this time, and they hugged each other tightly, giving them a delicate beauty. No matter. Come in. After Yan Meng hesitated for a while, he gritted his teeth and let the team move on. After all, the Lingjin fruit is right in front of them. If they give up because there are too many snakes, they might as well drop out of school and become ordinary people. Although Qin Xiaori and Chen Annie were afraid of Yan Meng's choice, they didn't say anything. Obviously they could think so. Lang Jia nodded to Zhao Fan and continued to walk forward. At the same time, her mental power began to fluctuate. Zhao Fan's clone looked at the countless energy reactions in the woods, and his eyes flashed. If they were all destroyed by the main body, how many energy points would there be? Although thinking this way, Zhao Fan's clone did not choose to take action. After all, he was a crow clone. Even though he had the same abilities as his original body, he could save a little bit. As the group went deeper, they could already see the appearance of many snakes on the trees. This time Yan Meng and Qin Xiaori began to cooperate. Thick vines quickly swept through these trees, directly bringing out the snakes hiding in corners and trees. Then Lang Jia used the rock and soil made with supernatural powers to directly smash him to death. They are all bronze-level demonic snakes. Even though the women were uncomfortable with seeing such a large number of snakes, they still discovered something fishy when they took action. Then, the speed at which Yan Meng and others took action became even faster. Such a large number of snakes are only bronze, and not a single one is silver. I'm afraid there is a snake king here. Only in this way can we explain why so many snakes can live here peacefully. Yan Meng said this and reached out to brush his hair. If I guess correctly, the guardian monster of Lingjin fruit is a snake king at the peak of silver. The approach of Yan Meng and others naturally attracted the attention of the demonic snakes in the woods, and the scent of strangers made them approach crazily. From the moment you step into the woods, you can hear the sounds of countless snakes slithering and hissing. As the number of snakes increased, Chen Annie no longer hesitated and pushed forward with both hands. An orange-red flame was thrown directly into the middle of the group of snakes. In an instant, like dry wood meeting a raging fire, the fire suddenly surged. At the same time, the air, which was originally moist and smelly of snakes, now became full of the rich smell of roasted snake meat. The group of snakes were also startled by the sudden appearance of the flames. After losing a large number of their snake companions, they continued to extinguish the flames with their bodies. But Chen Annie didn't stop when she took action, and the others continued to move forward. Balls of flames were thrown from Chen Annie's hands and landed where the number of snakes was the largest. Yan Meng's vines were also quickly throwing other singles and snakes on the tree into the flames. Zhao Fan's clone did not look at the battle in front of him at this time. Instead, he looked to the left and narrowed his eyes involuntarily. It has to be said that Chen Annie, who has fire powers, is indeed very suitable for dealing with such a group of monsters. And because they are all bronze-level demonic snakes, she can kill a large area with minimal consumption. After walking like this for about 20 minutes, Yan Meng and others finally arrived at the open space where the Lingjin fruit was. But as soon as they got here, they heard a voice that aroused anger in their hearts. I asked who could come here. It turns out it's you. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.